Hello and welcome to Jason Cavness Experience. I'm your host, Jason Cavness. I'm currently building across three areas. I'm helping scale software through TechBank, also sourcing deep tech startups with EarthVC, and bringing people together through events like the Seattle Deep Tech Demo today. My podcast is where I talk to people actually building stuff. My guest today is a second-time guest, Nick Hughes. Nick, thanks for being here today.
It's a pleasure to be here, Jason. I'm excited to dive deeper in chat.
Yes. So, Nick, first I want to start with this, and hopefully you come to doing this right. So, can you talk about the origin story? On the last podcast we did like a few years ago, you talked about it, right? But if I remember correctly, you was doing something called Feature Friday. It was going pretty good. And your relationship, and the relationship kind of went the wrong way, right?
Yeah.
And you use that as a catalyst to build what you're doing now. Can you talk about the backstory if you can?
Well, yeah, I think it's helpful to even go back a little bit, and this is for people that, haven't maybe heard the story, is I actually had a startup before that. I had I was working on a mobile payments company that really, we were trying to build some, kind of payments between merchants and customers using, text messaging and actually the mobile. This was, again, 2010, 11, 12. And it simply didn't happen. We really didn't even get off the ground. And the pain and the challenge and the understanding how lonely this experience is, I really evaluated that after that startup was done. And I wanted to solve that problem. I wanted to solve why isn't there more for early stage startups? Why isn't there an ecosystem that helps move from 0 to 1? And 1 could be simply anything, like meaning momentum, growth, get them started, right? And that really wasn't the case back then. And so that's what started what I created was Feature Friday. And so that was my test, my MVP, and honestly, I honest truth, I did not have this big vision at the time, okay? I was just putting on a party. I would just, you put events on in Seattle, and you know what it is like to have fun. And so that's what I did. I just created this pitch competition, threw things together. We tried the first one on March 28th of 2014, and it all hit.
Has that been that long ago?
It was March 28th, 2014, so 12 years. And we just turned into May, so it was a little more than 12 years ago.
And was it like rework at all? Nothing by.
Now actually we were at the old surf incubator.
Okay, I remember that one. Yeah,
that was on 2nd Avenue. Okay, and we were down in their event space, and it's funny. We call it the day one picture, and it's black and white. So anytime during an event, I'll put it on the screen, and I'll be like, "Oh, back in the day before their color photos."
Yeah. So what's been like what's some lessons you learned along the way?
The first and foremost lesson, I think, for people listening here, if you're working on something, and today is even with AI and other things, it's even crazier. But I would say even back then it was, I just tried. Okay, I just put something together, and I tried something. And I think the important thing is to have ideas, have experiments. You can test them, and you just see if something works, and then keep going on it. If not, it's okay to walk away. So that was my first lesson is, if anyone that remembers Feature Friday, it was fun, but it was raw. It was, half baked. And I took what I saw that we could actually make it into a full baked thing. And that's what I ran with.
So why do you think so many people are like, I want to build something, but not today. It's not perfect. Like I want to start a podcast, but I can't afford the $500 microphone.
Yeah.
Or I want to learn to play the guitar, but I need a perfect guitar. But like you said, you need to experiment, you need to hack. Like I tell people, if you don't start, you're missing the hacks, you're missing the repetitions, right?
Yeah.
So what's your advice to someone like, fucking get started now?
Well, it's just it, and I think in some ways just have fun, that's part of it. Now, of course, this is business and we need to be serious, but I think today is just much, much different now. There's tools out there. There's, with starting to use AI and agents. You do have to know how to prompt and or what to type in, but geez, it is so simple now to just get started. And maybe the way to think about it is take the pressure off. Okay. take the pressure off yourself. Just start putting something together. And again, follow what seems to be working and literally throw away what's not.
So when you tell people this, okay, I hear you, Nick, but you know what? If I put this out there, I'm gonna get criticized. People gonna make fun of me. They're gonna tell my product's crap, and I don't want to deal with that.
So
You just got to deal with it, right?
I had to get through that. I think when you start realizing, you build something like what I've built that is all around the world, people are going to say stuff, I know I'm self enough aware to know that not everyone probably likes me. I don't know, and I think like to be able to just say whatever, they will say things. And honestly, people don't really care about you and what you're doing.
No, I think one thing I learned too late in life, like 100 people out there don't give a fuck about Jason Cavness, right? They couldn't, but growing up, we think, oh man, what does Tom think about me? What does Nick think about me? Mary Jane think about me? And they're in their own little world.
No.
They don't have a clue what you're doing.
They're worried about themselves.
Yeah.
They're worried about their problems. They're worried about, their life and building something. And so I think that's a lesson is, don't worry about it. And I think the bigger thing is if there is any fears or there's challenges, those quickly leave you once you start doing it, right? And more challenges will come into place, obviously. But the like worrying about what people think or what am I gonna look? Just go do it, and you're gonna get over that stuff.
So you've been doing this since 2014. Has there ever been a year where like you came really, really close to setting it down, and why?
Very close. There's been a few, and just to be totally direct and honest, we recently went through something that I think it's just the better way to put it is, there's life cycles of companies, and weirdly, I think that there's a point where you can there might be a Y in the road, and there might be I've been doing this for a while. Is this what I want to continue to do, or do I want to turn and go do something else in my life? And I would say that, well, first and foremost, the pandemic was a very clear time for me to make a decision one way or another. And I think for every one of us, right? Like we all were presented in a what's happening and where am I going? And for Founders Live, we went fully virtual. And, just to back up a second for everyone, Founders Live, I went from this Feature Friday pitch competition, live in-person thing, and was testing it out here in Seattle. And then all of a sudden, things led to another, and other cities wanted to do the same thing. And I put much more structure around.
When that happened, you were like, man, this is batshit crazy. Like people want to do this everywhere.
Oh, yeah.
Was it like a moment in your head, like, man, what's going on here?
Well, there was when you launch something in Seattle for the tech industry, Seattle's a great market because we're not Silicon Valley, San Francisco. We're not necessarily even New York, but we have a very strong entrepreneurial and startup community. And so I felt that doing something here and being successful was going to be a good indicator of what could happen in a number of other cities. So I wasn't massively surprised. I wanted, actually, let's back up, if you're familiar with Startup Grind, if you're familiar with, you were a part of Bunker Labs for a long time, and I was watching Startup Grind, and I was like, I think I could do that model. And so I knew that there could be other cities. But I was very, very excited when we started to get we got response and wanted to do this in Portland. And so that's where I put in structure around what our city leaders are now. We can talk about that as well. But yeah, I started taking the steps to put structures in there, and then we just started to launch new cities, and it just started to multiply.
Do you remember what was it like a first, lack of a better term, first non-tech city that reached out to you? Like a city that are really not known for tech. All cities have tech, of course, but like a city like, oh wow, they want to do this too.
Well, here's the thing. We've Founders Live has expanded 155 cities in 58 countries. Okay, and 58 countries. We're on every continent. And, my whole thing is the entrepreneurship is a human desire, and it doesn't matter. This morning I talked with someone in Mature, Zimbabwe. Okay. This is like a smaller city about 5 hours outside of Harare, Zimbabwe, which is the capital. And we've been in Harare, Zimbabwe for many years. Okay. And, trust me, Founders Live has been a geography lesson in literally like all these cities around the world. And I'm constantly impressed and surprised at the innovative, inspired vision and desire for people in these cities. Okay. Look, I know that you probably traveled a little bit in the world because of military and stuff, but it's absolutely, it's incredible to meet people that they don't speak your language. You can't even barely pronounce the city. And they're sitting here talking about tech, startups, innovation, creating. And so I haven't been, I don't know. I haven't been shocked. Now, like Des Moines, Iowa, you don't necessarily think of Des Moines, Iowa, but hey, there's a university there.
Yeah.
Close enough. And there's a lot going on there. In a lot of these college cities, like there's a lot of people wanting to start hack on things and build things now. But yeah, I mean, I could tell stories of being in I've been in countries like Indonesia. What I say is I've been in the cities. It's like the equivalent of Des Moines, Iowa, is called Palangkaraya in Indonesia. And you look around and you're like, no way, but yet there are startups and founders and entrepreneurs in those cities too.
So what does your passport even look like? Is it like you have an extended version of your passport, like 20 extra pages, thousands of stamps?
Damn it, I just had to get a new one. So the unfortunate reality is with your passport, if you need to get a new one, because actually it was coming up on expiration, so I lost the stamps. But I've been to about 39, 40 countries now.
And you have like the global entry thing?
I don't actually. Crazy enough. There's some things I need to do. I'm planning on another tour, another travel here to Africa here soon this summer, and so I need to do that. But I've been able. Look, I just kind of get through, right?
Yeah.
Like I actually don't even have clear or anything like that right now. And on the topic of airports. I actually like airports, okay? And here's why is like when you go on a tour for 4 months, okay, and you're in 20 cities. I did Europe 2024. I was in Europe and I crossed over for 4 months and I was in 23 cities. And there was a lot of like trains and all that. It's just fun, but airports to me are a place that you can go, you can actually get to work. Like if I have a layover for a few hours, I just go find a place to get, maybe a drink or some food. And then you're not distracted. Like you don't have to jump on calls or anything because you don't schedule any calls. You can just get to work, right? So like, I could go and get 2-3 hours of work and then I get back on the plane and I actually work on the plane too. That's, in my opinion, it's undistracted time as well. So I actually like travel.
So are you like to get there last minute as possible, or you like to get there too early?
Oh, I'll get there. No, okay. If you want to get into it. So the challenge of Airbnbs, okay, is that you have to check out of Airbnbs at some point in time, and you have to kind of deal with the when do I need to leave my Airbnb, and then when do I need to go to the airport. So that's the challenge. And so typically what I do is I choose to go to the airport as early as possible, and maybe I'll end up getting like a drink, or depending on the timing of the flight, right? If it's like in the afternoon, I'll go just grab a beer and like actually like work for 2 or 3 hours. Or if it's in the morning, I'll just grab some coffee or a bite, some food. And again, I have no problem finding a corner or some place to go and literally work, right?
Yeah, I do the same thing. Like if I go to the airport, like I know some people go to the airport like 30 minutes before the plane takes off. I can't do it.
No.
I go back.
No, and most importantly, when you're traveling internationally, you need to schedule in your buffer time just so things don't go the wrong way.
You never know.
And so you need to leave early. You get at the airport a little early, and best case scenario, you have a few hours to like sit there and work.
Drink an extra beer, do some more work. Yeah, yeah, I'm with you on that one.
Yeah.
So Founders Live, why 99 seconds? Why that distinct 99 seconds?
Well, it's a special number to me. Crazy enough, I graduated high school in '99, so I was always like the class of '99, and I didn't realize at the time how impactful that number would be. But more specifically, when I started Feature Friday, there was like these other pitch competitions that were like 2 minutes or 3 minutes or whatever, and what I decided was, I just decided on a number. I didn't realize that this was going to be such a unique thing, but I said, hey, rather than 90, let's do 99 seconds. Let's be a bit more unique. And I think from a founder standpoint, it's an awkward time enough to force you to actually figure out your message. Okay? It is literally a time limit, like a shot clock, that makes you pare down your message. You've seen enough pitches, man. You've been through Founders Live, and you realize, like, man, if I don't have a time limit, I'm just gonna talk my head off. I'm just gonna say all these words. Well, the 99-second limit actually forces you to figure it out, and so that was the big thing, because I think for me it was just a fun little thing. What I realized over time is this is an absolute forcing function to help founders refine their message enough so they can actually have a room, understand what they're actually building.
I think it's great you have the crowd vote on the winner. Like, versus, it's not judges, not investors, it's the people in the crowd.
And that was another huge thing, man. Okay, there's a bunch of different pitch competitions and things out there. And, I've always thought that it was weird that, we call them judges. And then we have these investors sitting up there. And it's just my way. But I was like, you know what? Why don't we have the crowd vote?
Yeah. Instant market validation.
It's a total market validation. I mean, the success of business in today's world is not about pleasing 3 founders or 3 investors or whatever. It's about moving the crowds. It's moving the market for them to understand your value and do business with you. So inherent to the Founders Live pitch experience, the 99 seconds is important, but what's also important is, can you, founder, actually convince enough number of people to identify with your problem set? Oh, I have that problem too. Identify with your solution. Kind of follow your energy. And then at the end say, that was the one I want to choose. And you realize that's happening all over the world. Like, we are now helping founders put those pieces together to convince or inspire a group of people to vote for them because they see their vision and their solution as the answer. And that's one thing I would say I'm proud of is creating this on my own and putting those pieces together. I didn't think it would be something so important, but it is.
Is a founder, entrepreneur in the world, regardless, always like this term mean different things in different cultures?
Oh, you're saying, what a founder means to us in the U.S. versus, from what I've seen and learned, it's pretty much universal. And I think, I would say the term has really matured in the last 10 to 20 years. Literally entrepreneur, like that was a funny, weird word, and it didn't mean what it means today, like 20, 30, 40 years ago. Founder, I think both of these words were kind of under the surface for quite a while. And, the fact that entrepreneurship is mainstream now. The fact that people identify, okay, some of the world's changing people have been founders, and that's, Steve Jobs and others, right? And so now, thankfully, the brand Founders Live has that word in it. And I think we've done a good job of really helping the world understand what that entails, right? And so when you think of, but entrepreneur can be not, an entrepreneur doesn't need to be a founder. An entrepreneur is an operator and a business owner. Founder is someone that literally creates that first idea into the first product and go to market.
So the people that run the cities, they're called like city leaders. Or
City leaders, yeah.
And are they still, and they're volunteer?
Yeah.
And so what do these people get out of this? Like, how do you make sure, like, Jason Cavness, I'm a city leader in Seattle. What do you do to make sure these city leaders get the most benefit out of it? Like, what do they get out of it?
Yeah. Well, the short answer is they're looking to raise their leadership and their awareness and their standing in the community. I mean, that's really it. We call it a leader for a reason. But taking a step back, I really had to figure out how was this going to happen in other cities and I wasn't going to be there. And I knew that there was this model kind of like this, right? Again, Startup Grind and others were doing this. And so I spoke with a few people, actually. I spoke with some people with Startup Grind. I spoke with Mark Nagar, who was a part of the Startup Weekend. Okay, Startup Weekend it started in Colorado, but then it really grew from a team here in Seattle. And I remember having a pretty distinct conversation with him. Man, this goes back. And I just asked him a few questions on this, and he really helped me understand, like, hey, people will want to do this if you at least provide them a way for them to advance, and or there needs to be a selfish nature to it for them. And so that really helped me early on to understand when I interview, I still interview most of our city leaders, and when I talk with them, I'm really looking for, what do you want to get out of it? Okay? Because look, you're not necessarily doing a service for us. We're also doing we're doing a service for you, but it's both, okay? And, we don't pay our city leaders, so they're volunteers, and because our model wouldn't work. They're not employees, but they are looking for exposure, connections. Look, if you lead founders live in your city for years and years, you know how many founders you're connected to?
Yeah.
Okay? They might be hiring at some point. They might be, hey, that founder might want to start a fund at some point, and they look at you and say, hey, would you want to come in and do this with me? You could literally have a whole new career because you led founders live in your city. They're looking for just to be the person on the stage with the mic. We all like that.
Yeah, it's kind of fun.
Yeah, it's fun. And so they also, a lot of our city leaders might be doing something in the industry. Maybe they have a company that, it's a marketing, agency or something. So they're looking for their exposure. That's why I say, what's selfishly, because it's important to have a selfish reason to do this. Like, what are you looking to get out of it? And we hope them to really identify that.
So Nick, what's your selfish reason for doing this?
Wow, my selfish reason. I think, I think I would like to leave this planet whenever I do, having impacted it. And I think that this is the best way to do that. And that's my selfish reason. I don't know. I hope it's millions and millions of people that have been impacted. And I know that that's already on its way. It's already there. But, financially, I've always said this. I've always said, look, I think that's, although important, I think it's trailing in my opinion, of the actual karmic impact. And, my phone call today, this guy is young, pretty young. And he actually attended our event in Harare, Zimbabwe. And we get on this call and he literally, well, first of all, he was really well spoken. I was pretty impressed. I'm talking just the words he used and the mannerisms. And I'm used to talking with a variety of different people that sometimes can barely even speak, English. About a couple weeks ago. So it looks like we're going to launch in the DRC in, Congo. And we had to have a third person that was interpreting. So they were just speaking French. And then I'm sitting here just asking the question, and it was kind of translated. Okay. But, my point of all this is this guy was so excited to meet me. And he had just attended the event in Harare about a week or two ago. And now we're looking at an expansion in another city. And he literally was you could tell. I mean, he was just almost nervous, but he was also speaking really well. And, when you kind of sense that impact, it's it feels good. I mean, it's what am I, a lie? Like, no, it feels good this is someone in Zimbabwe, okay? Like, this is not like Seattle where I've been building this. And that's pretty touching. And I literally almost every day, that's like, I'm doing something like that.
So today's May 4th, 2026.
Yeah.
Let's fast forward to December 31st, 2026. On that day, what needs to happen the rest of the year for you to say, this was a good year for Nick Hughes and for Founders Live?
Hey, great question. We have a few things in place that are now moving. It's actually our marketplace side. This is the business model side of Founders Live. And we can jump on these ideas later, but like in terms of AI, we have some really interesting projects happening that are going to tremendously automate some of our back end systems, that the end result is bringing, at least we're starting to reach out to and touch a lot more companies that would want to sell into Founders Live, basically meaning, do they want to reach the startups that literally are telling us that we've got needs in legal, we have needs, we're looking for software development, we're looking for, healthcare, we're looking for funding. And so just building out the business side, it's actually it's a B2B marketplace. So what makes this year great is on December 31st, we have, like, the momentum has taken over on the marketplace. We actually will have we're going to have an outside team pick up some sales, or actually a lot of the sales activity. And we will cross over, it'd be 6 figures in monthly recurring revenue, which that is, we haven't yet, to be honest with you, which is crazy. And things are taking off. So that's where we're going with things.
Can you talk about the process of like starting what you're doing and then the process or transition to like go into a marketplace? Like, okay, I'm doing Founders Live, this stuff for free, but now, you know what? I got to pay the bills. Let me figure out how to monetize this without, disrupting the culture of Founders Live.
Oh my God. That was a very significant point in Founders Live and me. Okay. So let's back up a second. Events that happen in cities really usually, they require sponsorship, right? Or like, how are you going to, you've got food, drink, you got rent for a venue or whatever. And those costs need to be covered. And so for Founders Live, we just basically say it's locally supported. I simply say that with our cities. Figure it out. Locally supported. And yet when you look at the ecosystem globally, when you look at this and you say, okay, how do you make this thing work on a global scale? And we needed to figure out a way that we could. So first of all, charging founders, especially around the world, to be a part of this, just as like okay, you can only engage here and pay a membership fee, that really doesn't work. Okay, we've tried it, and so we've always wanted Founders Live to be free in at least the simplest engagement. We want people to come and be a part of our ecosystem, receive our information, engage, like just without any cost structure there. So then you're like, okay, well, how are we going to make money? And the best, I feel, the best actual system is, and there's an insight here I'll describe in a second, the unlock. But we figured out that as we got to a certain scale, and we just started to ask founders and people, you've seen this, hey, what do you need help with? And we started to have people say, or check boxes basically, telling us they're looking for, again, legal help, software development, benefits, other things of that nature. We then could start building not just a list of warm potential customers. We can now bring that to companies and we can say, hey, we have 2,352 people asking for legal help. Do you have a law firm, or you have a solution in this industry? And we basically started to build out this marketplace. And, it's really started to take off, which is really great. But I think that took a long time. Okay. I've been through a lot with Founders Live. We've scraped it by, and I think that it shows that the ingenuity of what I've built, that actually, like, this thing will not stop because there's so much is automated and so much that happens that just happens in cities. Okay. But from a business standpoint, we had to find something that was not intrusive, that also, okay, those law firms, those software development companies, those people, advisors, coaches that want to work, they need to build their business too. They need to find their target market. So the other unlock was realizing, oh, there's a whole other thing here. There's actually a whole other side to this whole ecosystem that we're building, that if we figure out a way for companies to be able to engage with Founders Live and grow because they're reaching their target market, which are the startups and founders, now we have a flywheel that will actually really start to spin. And so that was the other side of it, that the marketplace, it wasn't just like, hey, let's sell advertising. Is no, let's figure out a way to help companies reach a growing list of people and of early stage startups that they want to actually engage with and work with. And now you're solving the founders' problems and you're solving these companies' problems, and it starts to really spin.
So how do you do this, right? This is a problem with Bunker Labs. Like, of course, a Bunker Labs is how military veterans start companies, right? We found a lot of times these people come in and like didn't want to get over. They just want to, like, I don't want to say scam the veterans, like, scam the veterans, right? How do you make sure these companies, like, how do you vet these companies, make sure they're like doing the right thing?
Yeah, we talked to all of them, myself and some other people on our team. So there's a vetting process. There's also like a paid, we have a paid system, and like, pay
to play.
In some ways, I mean, companies that are just going to try to, be bad actors are less going to do that if you actually have a paywall and like there's actually a process to get started. And then we continually vet them and we get feedback from our ecosystem. And we've had a few in the past that just weren't great, and they're not there anymore. So it's not been too much of a problem yet. I know that at the scale that we're going at, so to end 2026, we would like to see about 200 in our marketplace.
Okay.
And that will be a very, very good day. And we now have the projections look good, and I believe that we'll be there at the end of the year.
So let's suppose, like, you have Founders Live coming to Seattle this month, right?
Yeah, May 28th.
Okay, so let's say it's May 28th. And let's say you have 5 people pitching, 100 people attend, right? What do y'all do to make sure these people that attended and pitched stay engaged with Founders Live? What's like the follow-up plan to keep them in the loop, so to speak?
Yeah, anyone that engages with Founders Live, anyone really that engages is if they signed up for an event, if they voted, you're within our ecosystem now. You're going to get our emails and information. And hey, by the way, if you want to unsubscribe, that's fine. We're totally fine with that. But we are now, weekly emails, a lot of things are sending out, so they're receiving from HQ our updates, the things that we have going. Like, we once or twice a year, we hold what's called the pitch challenge. So that's open to anyone in the world. They can submit a pitch video, and there's actually like the next one we're going to do is in October. It's going to be about a month long, and you're seeded into your region of the world, which we have 5 regions, like the continents, basically. And, you can compete and engage in that. But you're going to get information and really updates from Founders Live. And then clearly the local city, right? The local city is going to be updating with, hey, the next Founders Live, Seattle is this. So Seattle is one of our more active cities, meaning we typically have about 8 events a year. So we're a little more than, sometimes we'll take some months off, Most of our cities are on about 4 times a year, so every quarter. And so they're engaging on that way, and so we just have some mechanisms to keep in touch with them. Look, we're not trying to ask too much, right? And we don't have like a digital community to join, and we don't have a thriving social network community online because we've tried that a few times in the past and it really didn't work. So we just are mindful of what people want to engage with and whatnot.
And what guidance do you give the C leaders as far as how they pick who's going to pitch? Or is that totally up to them?
Well, it is up to them, but we let them know hey, this brings up something else that I definitely want to talk about is We are testing out a kind of a, if you take a hackathon plus the Founders Live, we can talk about that in a second. But we tell our city leaders the startups that we pitch or that we pick to pitch need to be established. They need to be in market. They need to be novel, meaning like just it's not the coffee shop on the corner, even though we like coffee shops. They need to be something that is, deployed, that people in the audience can, go to their website or go to the app. They can use it. They can submit their email. They can do something. So that means that they're launched. This is not like, hey, Joe and I, 2 nights ago thought of this idea. I want to pitch it. Okay. That's for something else that we're actually looking at, which will be exciting, which I can talk about in a second. But, so we teach our city leaders how to look for this. And the cool thing is on every single event page and even on our website, but basically on every single event page, it says, hey, do you want to pitch at this event? And then it goes to a form. We have a form that anyone in the world can fill out, and they're picking the city. They're then filling out all their company information, and they're basically applying to pitch, and that falls into the system. That city and that city leader gets notified. Hey, someone new wants to pitch at your event, and then they're going to go through that list. And so there's kind of this. It's this entire system that when an event gets published, hey, we're having this next Founders Live in Nairobi, and I mean, I think about that because, man, it's especially those cities in Africa, man. Like for one event, no joke, like there will be 50 or 100 people applying to pitch for 5 spots. That doesn't happen here in Seattle, trust me. Usually it's like 5 or 10, or maybe 10 or 20, I don't know, for a Founders Live event that you got to pick the 5. Cairo, it's like 100.
Man, how do you even pick? I mean, like I'm sure all like solid startups. Like, how do you even pick?
It's
like,
crazy.
Yeah.
Look, it ain't my job.
Yeah.
I'm just the CEO.
Yeah.
So it's funny, but I think that proves a lot, right? That proves that there's such desire there. And first of all, Cairo, about 20 million people. Mm-hmm. Okay, 20 million. Yeah, compared to not even a million whatever here in Seattle, but. So it almost is relative, but when you look at that, it's massive, and so there's a lot of need there, but yeah, our city leaders need to go through, and your job is you hold a Founders Live event. Ideally, it's 5. Okay, it can work at 4, but 5 founders, and you find them in some way, shape, or form.
So, how do you go about picking what city you're going to go to next?
It's a lot of inbound, man. We obviously have our list of desired, and that continues to grow. We also, one big thing is look, full of transparency. We're in a lot of cities around the world, but a lot of those have been quiet. So I would say it's like half right now are lacking a city leader. So let's talk 60, 70 cities. Okay, so. For instance, Denver, Phoenix, Austin, these type of cities, which have been traditionally Founders Live, very strong cities. So they're on our radar, and so that's the ones that we're intent on reviving back up. And so we have a process for that as well. And we'll post on socials and we'll send out things. And so it's just identify these specific cities where we're looking to revive with a new leader and get things back going again. And then the expansion tends to be quite a bit organic. And what that means is we'll push out messages, and we'll push out a global email that'll say like, hey, we're, Founders Live. We're always looking for awesome leaders, and we're looking to expand, and we'll just get new cities suggested. But that's like from a person that's like, I want to lead. So they'll just open up. Now it's like, oh, like for instance, this Mutare in Zimbabwe. Like I didn't know about this city until this person actually got on the radar. And turns out we might launch there. I mean, it's really looking like it. And so a lot of it's inbound, which is fascinating.
Have you ever had to shut a city down?
Yes, and the way I would say that is removing a city leader for various reasons, and most of it is just inactivity. I mean, look, the fact that someone wants to be a city leader at Founders Live really identifies them as, they think like
Take
us.
an initiative and that kind of stuff.
I mean, they care about entrepreneurship. The inactivity basically meaning, look, you need to have an event once every 3 months. If 6 months goes by and we haven't had anything, you're basically now in the inactive. And then we'll send messages and it's like, hey, due to inactivity, we've removed you, and that's unfortunate. But that's really it. I've been doing this 12 years, man, and we haven't had any real issues. It's been amazing, and I don't know. I'm hoping that it stays the same.
Off the top here, can you talk about a city leader who's like went on to like do like bigger and better things?
Well, the one I'll bring up, actually, it just kind of hits my radar right now is, so we're gonna go back to Cairo, and his name's Mustafa, and Mustafa is our city leader, but he's also our regional leader of MENA. The MENA region, which is Middle East, Northern Africa, and we have a few of these people around the world that they're so great that, or they are the ones that really come to us to say, hey, I would like to actually lead this region, and they not only like do their thing in the city, but they're responsible for expansion. So like identifying cities, finding or marketing for the city leader role, doing the first interview, basically like identifying, hey, I found someone in such and such city. For instance, like, Riyadh, Saudi Arabia, we've launched there. Dubai, we're now launching in Casablanca, Morocco, Amman, Jordan. These are like MENA cities, okay? Like we're in 3 cities in Egypt. Mustafa has done a great job of leading that. So he has seen the bigger picture, and he Founders Live's not the only thing in his life, but he is like, absolutely like, I want to take this to the next level. He obviously has, I would say he has clearly financial reasons to see a bigger picture with Founders Live. Like, I get that, and that's awesome. Yeah. But he also wholeheartedly sees the value that this needs to be in a number of different cities in this region. And so, it's been really impressive.
So with 155 cities, 155 leaders, there's no way they can all directly contact you, right? So how do you manage all them? Like regional, I guess you have regional leaders over them, and how's that?
We have regional leaders in certain areas, and then we have this year we brought on another individual that is, I wouldn't say he's like the director of city leaders. That's a position that we want to fill at some point, but he is he authored a book on leadership. He is now working with anyone that we onboard. Hey, connect with, his name's Jesse. So connect with Jesse, and Jesse is really helping them understand, their aspect of, what is leadership, and then getting clear on their goals, their alignment, and really just action. And so, Jesse's there as well. And in the end, we have a small team actually, but in the end, they can clearly message me, whether that's email, sometimes it's WhatsApp, sometimes it's other things. But I would say 8 out of 10, and this is an ideal stat, 8, if not 9 out of 10, but it's probably 8 right now, are pretty self-sufficient. Mm-hmm. And that's what it's kind of that whole thing of like, hey, if activity's happening and you're not necessarily hearing from the city leader, but things are happening every 3 months, that's a pretty good thing, right? So we're looking for ones that are pretty self-sufficient and yet dial in when they need to. We have city leader calls every 3 to 4 months out of the year. So we typically have 3 or 4 a year. And those are, kind of required. It's not like I can force people to jump in there, but to meet other city leaders and to understand the bigger picture of what's going on. And so hopefully they're attending those. But, there's like years that go through. There's years that go by and I don't necessarily interact directly with the city leader, but they're just nailing it. So
you ever do like city leader retreats, like you gather them all up and go to like Memphis, Tennessee or LA or something like that?
Not yet. We totally want to. And that's something that's coming for sure. There's so much, man. look, we're 12 years in. Would I have thought my life would be this in 12 years ago? I don't think so. I mean, travel in the world. Like each year I pick a part of the world and go do it. Visit, meet them. But we have decades left.
So talk about your upcoming trip to Africa. I think you'll be there for 90 days.
Yeah. So it looks like it's about a 90-day trip. I was actually going to go 4 months, and a lot of the geopolitical things that we're seeing is man, it's a little shaky and a little frustrating. It's geopolitical and economic. And especially like my first stop is Cairo in Egypt. So I'm going to head over and I'm going to go from top to the bottom of the continent. And so I was a little concerned, but I started to talk with some people that have been there and or our team there, and they said Cairo is pretty safe actually. And so I'm going, and it'll be early August. I'll probably leave the 1st or the 2nd, and then I'll come back at the end of October. So 3 months, 13 or 14 cities. So I'll be in basically a city a week. These are all Founders Live cities. So each week it's a new event. I'm speaking, I'm meeting founders, working with our city leaders, and honestly, that's a dream, man. It's a dream. I don't think most people understand. Like I did Europe for 4.5 months, and that was 23 cities, and you're literally like every single week changing. It's a new Airbnb, it's a new city, possibly a new language, and new culture, and it's fucking beautiful, man.
So how do you do this? Like, suppose you go to, we'll say, Paris, France, right? And you're there, first time there, everyone wants to talk to you, right? Like, Jason Cavness talk to you, I'm talking, and you're like in your mind, okay, I need to rap with Jason because there's like 30 people behind him, right? How do you like do that without being rude, so to speak?
It's tough, it's you get used to, I mean, I've like been in an event where there's literally a line and it might have been 45 minutes to an hour, and people just are like wanting to talk. Okay. And I get it. It's fine. I'm there. I mean, especially if it's Founders Live, I'm working basically. It's fun, but, I'm curious too, right? So I'm asking people, I want to hear about what they're doing and what they're building. And to me, it's pretty special because I'm in their city and I'm a guest, I'm visiting there, and it's just, man, I take it in. I mean, there's been times where I just, when you have that moment and you're kind of like, oh my God, like I'm aware you're taking in this like almost out of body, like, holy crap, I'm in Edinburgh, Scotland. And I'm at a Founders Live, and I'm the CEO.
And I built this.
And I built this. And yet then you just flip into like, hey, what's your name? What are you building? Cool. What's up? And so it's fun. And so you just, obviously I'm pretty good at being able to say, hey man, like, I got to go to the bathroom, or hey, I actually, when it's obvious and there's a line, I need to talk to this person. Okay, real quick, So you just you try to do about a 3 to 5 minute, and then you got to move on to the next person. But it's fun, man. It's fun. And first of all, I've been in Africa before. So I visited in 2019. I actually traveled. I did a bit of a world thing. This is how it kicked off all the travel. And I think I told you that, right? We got in that story of like, the relationship ended and I just really hit the road, and it was fun. And 2019, I visited Zimbabwe and then South Africa. And I was like, wow, it was just really cool. So have always wanted to do a full Africa, multi-city, multi-country.
How many countries are you going to go to again?
It'll be 13.
13, okay.
Yeah, 13 countries, roughly a city in each. So actually it might be 12. There's a few countries that I'm doing 2 cities, but it's top to bottom, and the travel's not gonna be as easy. This is not like Europe. You're not just jumping on a train. So there's some stuff there, right? And Nigeria, you actually have to do a pre-work and get a letter and all the things you need to do. There's actually a much more intense, and I'm starting that process for the visa for Nigeria. But most of these countries I'm going to, that's actually an e-visa or it's on site. And so like, for instance, Zimbabwe, You land and you pay like $35
Yeah.
and it's, you
That's
get
it.
a visa. So, yeah, it's going to be pretty intense.
So talk about the points of people having like a curiosity and being able to tell stories.
Well, this is an important one. Okay. Like, first of all, your job as a founder is not just to tell people what you do. It's to tell people why, right? And if you think about that, why are you doing this? Why is it important to solve this problem? Why is it important for people that are struggling with whatever you're trying to solve? Why? Why? Okay, and that all becomes very real if you're very, at least good, if not getting a lot better at storytelling. And so the actual foundation of Founders Live and the event, you have 99 seconds to tell a quick story about what you're building, why is it important, who's it for, and what's the impact. And I think that's a tremendous skill and or a tremendous, an ability for especially a young team or an early team that's just getting started to be able to learn how to tell that story and then why is it impactful. And with Founders Live, like you go back to like I saw this big weird issue where it was like, wow, why is it so freaking hard as an early stage company to just get noticed, to get momentum, to get connected, to and connected to the community, if not connected to investors, and in the end, create momentum enough to grow. And you and I both know as operators, man, the key thing is figuring out a way to get momentum enough to just get something moving so it can grow and sustain itself. And I found that was hard as hell for me. And I said, well, I bet it's hard as hell for millions, right? And so to be able to tell that story and say, man, I struggle with this. I failed this startup. I'm looking to figure out how to build that solution and for all the other entrepreneurs out there. And so that's kind of our story, right? And now the story of growth. And, we go from one city to another and all of a sudden we expand. And, entrepreneurs, it's a human desire. And these are all the things, right? So the key thing is, I hope that all founders, that's one of the things that we do, is we hope that we can impart on the world, okay, remove the data dump and start to include storytelling so that general audience can say, I totally get what you're building and I see the value in the world.
So how do you keep yourself from getting too personally involved in these startups? Like, man, Tom's startup is going to be the next $1 billion business. I'm going to go all in. Like, how do you make sure you kind of keep an even kill, so to speak?
Maybe the answer to that is we're at a scale now where it's dude. And by the way, we're just nowhere where when you say December 31st, here's the other thing. I just talked about the marketplace. We are going to do a pitch challenge this year that we want to reach 1,000 founders engaging in this pitch challenge, and it's a month long, and they share their pitch video and their story out to the world, and they actually get votes. And then basically the pitch challenge is we stack rank all of them in either North America, Latin America, Europe, Africa, and Asia. So we're going to do a global challenge. We've done this numerous years, and usually it's like 80, 100. We want to do 1,000.
Okay.
If and when we do that then in October, that's basically going to bring in about 500,000 new people into Founders Live. That's a massive growth for us, okay? And so what I'm saying here is like, we're already at a scale, and that's just not that. What I just described is October. That's going to be insane. But even now, there's just a lot of noise, dude. Like, we just had another start. Like right now, another startup just came into Founders Live. Okay, so we grow daily. Like a number of different startups fill out our pitch form, or they, people sign up for an event, and so it's kind of already at a level where don't take this the wrong way, but I'm like simply like it's almost so much noise. And there's few times where I'm like, oh my God, that's an amazing person or amazing startup. I see that come through. most of the time it's noise because we're so big.
Why do you think Founders Life has been so successful? What do you think about Founders Life has like touched people's hearts so much so like they want to be involved? But there's a lot of stuff out there who's failed in the past and they didn't make it like you're making it. What about Founders Life specifically has been like been the thing?
I mean, you've been to Founders Live, okay? And we talk about our core values, and that's an important thing, okay? I mean, I think
do you still do the no name tags?
Well, we call it now business equals fun.
Okay. Okay.
But it's fun. So we shifted that just for a few reasons, like it just like for in some ways translation globally, but our core values, which by the way, I had a coach sit me down like as I started Founders Live, it went from Feature Friday to Founders Live. Man, I'm so thankful. And his name's Dale. We don't talk that much anymore. I need to reach out to him. I think that I remember that kind of reminds me to reach out to him. But Dale is just a very purposeful person, and it was awesome. And so he said, "Hey, you're starting this thing. I would encourage you to think about core values and what is important to you in the company." And I would put this up there with like the 99-second thing is unique and different, but we structured these core values. And then the second thing that I did was I just made them very direct and public. And then each and every event, we talk about them. So if you go to a Founders Live event, and this usually, hopefully is true because it should be true in all the cities, because it's in our slide deck that all the cities like, hey, we have a kind of a master slide deck that the cities can use and they can customize it to their language or, their city. But there's literally a slide for each of our 5 core values. And I think that that's pretty dang important, man. When you're at a tech event, like you don't hear people talk a lot about the core values. And we talk about, respectful authenticity, basically meaning, man, you need to be your authentic self here. But the response to that is you are respectful to others and them being their self. And, you've been to Founders Live and you notice that. Like, it's a very respectful and it's a very unique culture of just people being their own and very authentic in that. Secondly is, the open the door concept is tremendously important. That means doing great things for people. Okay. There's a lot of introductions and a lot of things happening. You think about gathering around the campfire. Okay. That's another one. Yeah. And that's literally community. Yeah. Okay. Like, I don't know, those words came to me. Like I thought of those words, but it's like gather around the campfire means that we're gathering, we're entertaining, and we're telling stories of a future we imagine. And I think people just grasp that. And so I don't know. I think that's part of it, man, is like you start to identify as a human, you go to a Founders Live and at least one of those core values like pop out to you to say, that's really cool. And I feel a part of, or at least at home with this community.
What's a city you've been to and you're like, wow, this food is just amazing. Like, I can't believe how good this food is.
It's a hard question because I go all over the world, man. And, but here's what I'll say. Indonesia was a very interesting experience. Indonesia they speak Bahasa Indonesian. Okay. So there's like 100 dialects of actual Indonesian, but there's like kind of a main one or two. And so, the whole time I was there, which was 2 months, I was in like 8-10 different cities. Yeah. I did not, you have no idea what's going on. Like, and most of them are like, they might be able to read English, or at least maybe they know it vocally. They can't speak it. Yeah. So when I was out with our teams and like I'm just kind of out, I would literally be like, just order anything. Like I'll eat anything basically. So I just tell them to like order stuff, and like a lot of it I didn't even know what it was. But they have a lot of times when you sit, they'll do they'll do the kind of collective thing, right? So like they'll just bring out plates, and there might be 4 or 5 people sitting here, and you basically are just kind of pulling from a plate and serving yourself. And so just a bunch of spicy stuff, a bunch of, kind of some exotic little animals and things. And
have you had it where they're like, okay, there's no way Nick will eat this, let's see what Nick will eat,
Oh, spicy wise, yeah. And I would do it. And look, if you train yourself well enough, I mean, it's spice to me. I definitely have had too spicy, but going through Southeast Asia, you're gonna get used to it. So, but man, Indonesian food's great. And here's another thing is there's a lot of street food.
Yeah, street food's the best.
But like their street food, which by the way, you could spend $5 or $6 US.
Yeah, easily.
And you're getting equivalent of probably $30 or $40. Yeah. And there's actually, it's like outdoor seating. Okay. Mm. And so what this is in their cities, street food is equivalent to like the fast casual here. Okay. So it's like it's not tremendously great, but it's not horrible.
Yeah.
This is not bad. It's just normal. And there's so many places where you're like, this is some of the best, like, this is good. I mean, you're like, wow. And they kind of are like, whatever. And you're like, no, this is actually really good. Yeah. And it's street food. Like, I mean, street food literally means like, it's actually, there's, maybe there's 30 people, there's like seats for 20 or 30 people. And it's actually made right there.
The stoves on the street, the propane, whatever it is on the street.
But you're not like questioning it. No. You're like, oh no, this is a real establishment. Yeah. This is fine.
They've been every day for like the last 10 years probably.
Yeah. And it's so good, man. So good. So yeah, it's awesome.
So talk about this traveling docuseries you're doing.
Yeah. So, well, in side note, like this is, in some ways, this goes back to what I was saying earlier. You don't learn until you experiment. Okay. So, every year I pick a part of the world and go travel it. And obviously if I can, right. Whether hopefully it's not too much of a global wars going on or economically. So I'm hoping if all goes well, I will go through Africa this year. As I've been traveling, and this was encouragement from our team, it was like, well, you're traveling, why don't you cover it or capture it? And then we started to go down this path of like, what if we actually created a travel series? And part of it is like, I meet so many incredible founders, right? We have incredible city leaders around the world. There are stories, man, I can tell you my life is insane at times, right? And I need to tell that story in one way or another. The founders and dreams of people that I see and meet in these cities and countries around the world, really, it's the curiosity of what is entrepreneurship like in Nairobi, Kenya? What is entrepreneurship like in Harare, Zimbabwe? And I believe that needs to be told. And I believe that needs to be brought to the world. And so we started down the process of creating what's called Exploring Greatness. And really that's just a way for me to encapsulate and capture my experience on the road. So literally like what it's like to travel for 4 months across a continent. My experiences day to day, building the company, me meeting people and really capturing their story. And I think that's the switch is first, these first few years have kind of been like, it's a little bit just kind of a small project of like me, almost like a little docuseries of me on the road. And now we're transitioning into much more. We want to involve more people. We want to have interviews. We want to do things like this and really capture the stories of people I'm engaging with on the road. And so that's what we're doing.
So how do you run a worldwide remote first company? Like, are you on like Seattle time, Indonesia time, like different time schedules, different time zones? Like, how do you make it all come together?
Well, when I'm based here in Seattle, obviously, I'm here, and it's kind of funny. I've actually been in town for a while, and so I've just kind of been on I'm back in this time frame, in this zone and all that. And so when I'm here, I'm obviously, working these hours. And, here's the thing, like, it's important to understand, especially like building something like Founders Live that's global, the emails are going to be there when I wake up. Okay. And, what I need to do is, so I don't try to, I'm not working until 12 or 1 a.m. I'm not. Like, guys, like, you can grow a global thing and have a normal schedule and, like, work, I basically have a normal schedule. Okay. And secondly, it's essentially a time zone converter. I use this website. I just pull up all the time.
Okay.
And what happens is, whoever I'm interacting with, meeting, like trying to schedule a call, for instance, like the guy in Zimbabwe, I literally will go to this thing. I just go to this, I type in date and it just goes, it's like time zone, date, it's dateful.com, I think. And it'll say your local time, and you can like choose any city in the world, and you can literally see the correlation time. And so then I'll say like, hey, are you free or I'll just list off like 2 or 3 times that they can book. But here's the thing. I'm picking times in their day that map to my availability, because, dude, I'm not going to wake up at 3 a.m. and have a freaking phone call.
Yeah.
I'm the CEO. Mm-hmm. I can choose the time that I work. And so I try to be respectful, but I try to map it to my availability. So most of the time I'm taking calls at 8 or 9 a.m. And that typically is people that are, if they're in Europe, Africa, that tends to be their 4, 5, 6.
Yeah.
Okay. Asia becomes a bit of a problem.
So like 15-hour time
it's
difference.
It's a little wacky.
Yeah.
But like, look, and especially India and Pakistan and other places, you just say, hey, are you available at 10 p.m. your time? Mm-hmm. They usually take it. So, I'm looking at their time, and then, really figuring out the way to schedule that. And so, hey, it's you have to make choices and decisions on how you are going to operate when, especially people that you interact with around the world. And then when I'm traveling, becomes the challenge, but I basically I'm working the time zone that I'm in, right? Because psychologically, okay, let's review this. On the road for 3 months, if not 4 months, in some foreign area of the world, you better adjust and be on their time zone, or you're going to literally go crazy. So when I travel, my availability is a lot less. If I'm trying to take any important meetings or sales calls, I basically just I have 2 or 3 hours each day that I'm available. And outside of that, like, I'm not going to work US hours.
How do you do like your time off or your vacations every year?
What are you talking about? Well, look, I would say, I think I'm getting better at least peeling away for, a short period of time. I fool myself in some ways to say that, like, this every year when I tour, like, it is like a bit of a
vacation. Yeah, it's work, but still you get to see new things.
It's seeing the world, man. And so I find, like, here's what I love, and Europe was incredible for this. 4 or 5 p.m. shut the laptop, and you just go, and you're like, all right, where am I going?
That's how you do it over there.
It was awesome, man. So you go out and have some drinks, or like, man, I was in, I'm in Athens, Greece, and my Airbnb was right at the bottom of the hill. The Parthenon and everything is right on this big hill. Okay, it's fucking beautiful. It is the coolest place over there, and my Airbnb was right at the bottom of that hill, and it was so cool because you literally just close your laptop, take a deep breath, relax, and then you step outside and you're like, I'm in ancient Greece. I'm literally in Athens. You walk down the hill and you now can go and sightsee. And so that's the way I do it, is like, to me, the travel is obviously Founders Live oriented, but I'm able to wrap in that, right? The next thing I want to say is, I have just figured out the discipline for me. Like I'm a morning person, man. So, I wake up naturally, but like I know, as you get older, you kind of figure out like kind of how you operate. And for me, it's like, I'm ready to get going in the morning. And so for me, I'm a morning person in the sense that, I'm going to get my coffee and read. I'm going to get a workout in. I'm going to jump into work. But the moment 5, 6 hits, I'm just ready to do something else. Okay. So I have done the like shut down and have your time to be away from the laptop, be away from your work, whatever that means. And that helps me. So that's just me. I like you can operate the way you want. But for me, I've just noticed that I need to be pretty on top of my off time and my on time and not to allow that to get too blurry. And then I schedule times with, friends and, getting out like yearly trips the group does and all that, and go back home at some point, see my family, see my parents, and, so you schedule enough of this, right? But for me, it's the tour and the trips allow me to have that kind of release.
You know how like airlines have like airline miles? Does Airbnb have like Airbnb miles or something like that?
What's crazy? No.
That is crazy.
No, it's insane.
That is crazy.
And it's like, I guarantee they know who Nick Hughes is. I guarantee it because like, dude, I have a spreadsheet that since 2019, I've just, it's just a running spreadsheet and it's more than 1,000 nights in Airbnbs. Okay. And I think that's
a failure.
I think it's 1,100 right now. It's like $75,000. Okay. And, I mean, there was years where I was doing I was doing a month this is during a pandemic time frame, a month in each city that I was kind of shifting and traveling in. And, man, those were fun. I did like a month and it turned into 2 months in Nashville when we launched Nashville, and I almost didn't come back. FYI.
I heard Nashville's a fun city.
It's badass. Yeah.
There's a lot. One thing, like, I think about traveling, like, there's so many fun cities to go to. I'm like, my thing is, like, I went all over the world, like Vietnam, Thailand, all over Europe. I've yet to be a place where, like, man, these people suck, That's yet to happen to me, right?
No.
Everyone's, like, great. They want to show you the culture. They want to, like, be friendly towards you.
Here's the thing. Yes, and I gather that you're like this too, which is if you're a respectful person, and more importantly, it's best if you're not obvious American here.
Yeah.
Okay.
That helps. Yeah.
And one big thing I've learned traveling, because I've been in so many countries, and you adopt this if you're on the road enough, is, man, just shut your mouth and observe. Open your ears.
That helps.
Open your eyes, man.
Don't be what's the term? The ugly American. Don't be the ugly American.
Do not. And all it requires is just being quiet. And a lot of times I'm traveling on my own. Okay. And I'm literally by myself. And so you walk into a bar, sit down. I'm usually like, especially in Europe, like, okay, there's a soccer game on or football over there. It's just awesome. It's like, you just sit there and you're just watching, and then some other people come in, and at some point in time it's obvious that you're not from there, especially if you're in Indonesia, and they're gonna come talk, and so I have adopted much more of a reserved demeanor, and I typically don't engage unless it's obvious, and they come over and start talking to me, or something of that nature, because I don't know, man. I don't think anyone wants that loudmouth at the bar that just won't shut up.
No.
And you're like, oh, I'm just trying to watch the game, man. Like, shut up. So I'm not that. Yeah. And I think you do this year after year after year. You figure out how you feel best operating. And to me, I think travel has really helped me refine my antenna of human beings, right? And you start observing them. Even if you're in a country that you don't even speak the language, you start watching people. Man, Latin America was amazing. I did 4 months down there, and it was really cool to, like, you just observe, and you're like, okay, those people are fighting, but you don't even know what they're saying. But like, they're in an argument. You're like, okay. Huh. Or, man, look at these people are amazing. And they'll come up and, they just want to talk to you, and you're this person from the United States, and they just want to get to know you, and it's fun.
So on the airplane, window or aisle, or does that even matter?
Oh, window.
Window. Why?
First of all, this is if you don't have to go to the bathroom very often. Okay. So I don't know. But for me, window, I love takeoffs and landing.
I do too. I still look at the plane when it takes off and lands.
It's like a little kid.
I'm still a little kid. Yeah. I still watch
so
the thing. Yeah.
Number one, I like that. Number two is there's actually a little more space, and then like I said,
raise your head, so to speak.
Yeah, man. You put a little coat back there, and you got a little pillow. So, and typically the flights I'm on, it's 3 hours, 5 hours at the most, and some, depending on Africa's going to be some longer flights. Okay. But, a lot of times when I travel, because remember, a tour is a one way.
Yeah. So
you're just kind of going from point A to point B, and, a 3 hour is fine. Yeah. And what I usually do is like, I'm just working. Okay. So, I don't want to have to get up when let's say you're on the aisle, you got to get up every time someone needs to go to the bathroom or whatever. So window for sure. And I just throw on the headphones, and man, to me, flight wise, so I have another hack, which is I don't typically do the Wi-Fi.
Okay.
Because I want to unplug without unplugging. I want to unplug. I don't want to sit here and check my email and all this crap. Like, it actually allows me to, I get in a Google Doc. So I open Google Docs and I do the work offline. Mm-hmm. Okay. That allows me to put thoughts down allows your mind to work without you being like jumping from web page to web page. And so I set a flight plan. Actually, I literally set like, here's like the things I want to go through, and I'll just open, I usually have like a travel, each time I travel, so like for instance, Africa, I'll have a Google Doc that's literally my flight notes, and I just have a running doc, and then for that flight, I just kind of have the 3 or 4 things I really want to grind on.
Nice.
Dude, it's awesome. And maybe get a beer and you sit there and you're just like hanging out, and there is nothing else to do but work. And then the other thing is I'll read. Flights allow me to read, read books, and I just use Kindle app. Okay. And but I tend to not read books a lot at home, just because it's harder for flights. Takeoff and landing, I'm reading, mm-hmm. So I typically read for about a half an hour. The moment you get on a plane, okay, I'm reading. So it's typically half an hour, 45 minutes before you can like really open up your stuff. And then I'll read the last half an hour of the flight landing and like getting to the gate. So I get some reading in, I get some work in. Man, that's a travel day.
Really productive.
That's not lost day.
So how do you make sure you continually professionally develop yourself?
This is a good one actually. Not just like I'm reading things, whether it's books or, like blogs, and I listen to podcasts a lot. You know what? I've actually started to use ChatGPT in a really interesting way. And the way I explain it, this is another thing I'm like testing, okay, is I call it the 10C. It's 10 challenges. And so I discovered this interacting with AI and ChatGPT. Basically, it's, I have a topic. I want to learn and grow in this. Can you create a 10-week, 1 week challenge each week for 10 weeks on this topic? Because I want to develop my skills in such and such leadership or blah, blah, blah. And you can like prompt it, and then it goes boom, 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 and it creates the full thing. So this is like a really cool, and then I like call these like sprints, right? And so it'll be like right now I'm actually doing a nonverbal and body language communication sprint. and it's a 10C. I call it a 10C. So it's 10 challenges, and each one challenge a week. And it just gives you a freaking topic and assignment. And then it'll just map it out into week 1, week 2. And then what I do is each week, and I typically do these on the weekends, I'll take that week 2 and I copy, paste it, put it in chat, and I say, hey, it's week 2. I'm now doing this. And I give a full kind of overview prompt. And then I'm like, give me 2,000 words on why this is important to develop as Nick Hughes, Founders Live, CEO of Founders Live. Dude, it just goes, okay, this is basically the world's most intelligent mentor and advisor on literally any topic. And it's forcing me. So that the key thing is it's forcing me to do my work, but it's leading me in it. It's like, hey, this week your topic is this, and that. And you then can kind of like refine it. And then at the end, you're like, okay, well, tell me what my assignment is this week. And it'll go, do this, do that, do this. And then I do it. And dude, I've been doing this for almost a year now. It's so cool.
It amazes me when people out there, they say, oh, ChatGPT is making us dumber. You're not using it right.
You're not using it right.
You're not using it right. You're using it as a Google or asking simple questions like you're not using it right. Because me, like, so every day I'll go in there and then I'll put in everything I've done that day right. And it'll say what I should have done differently. It'll give me my schedule for tomorrow, all that kind of stuff, right?
Look, I think it's an interesting time. I think
it's just a tool. That's all it is.
Yeah, well, I think we don't know what is, what's been created. I think we're not really aware yet. But what I can say is my concern is the general public is going to not use this muscle up here as much as they probably should be. Mm-hmm. Now, what I just described to you and what you just said are the ways to use it as an addition, use it as an assist. Why would you not use the most intelligent thing out there if you could? But I'm forcing myself to continually think. And I think that that's so damn important, okay? So especially founders and entrepreneurs out there, please don't lose that.
Yeah, like you can't go in there, ChatGPT, give me a business plan for the next 5 years, right? And just do that, No. And by the way, I'm already hearing from founders that are like, they've scheduled time with me and we get on a call and it comes out that they've been working on this for 3 weeks and they really just prompted GPT and I'm like, you got a long way to go. Yeah.
So on that topic, I'm shifting the topic because I think it's important. I think that, first of all, the future of Founders Live is absolutely, I think, solidified because there's going to be 5, 10, 20, 100x more entrepreneurs than there are now. Because more and more people are going to choose this path. Mm-hmm. Because using AI tools is going to be easier, like we just said, to kind of get. But now they need much more help, and they need ecosystem, and they need community, and they need training, pitch and storytelling, and then path. Okay, but here's the thing: is it's going to be 100 to 1,000 times more difficult because there's just going to be more noise. You think about that for a second, right? And I'm very excited about the future of more entrepreneurship, more fun with Founders Live. Hey, I'm a little concerned, I guess, maybe the word is, that imagine a world that it's 100 times more difficult to be discovered because there's just so much noise out there. So how do you do that? And I think we got to figure that out. So, I'm equally excited. I'm equally concerned that it's just going to get so loud and so noisy. What are the answers there?
Any thoughts of doing like a Founders Live accelerator or Founders Live incubator?
Well, the short answer is we're gonna look at that. Just as everything with Founders Live, we're gonna look at it and do it our own way. And I think the traditional Techstars, Y Combinator type of accelerator, I think is done. And what I mean by that is, it's very difficult to make that sustainable. We've seen that a lot of times around the U.S. and the world. And I think it needs another attempt and or just a model that can be sustainable and work. And so we're looking at that. I don't know what that really means yet. So I have no answer and nothing to announce, but But I think with the evolution of AI, it can be done in a way that actually makes sense. Okay, so we're evaluating that. I also do want to speak on the fact of entrepreneurship in startups, and Founders Live up to this point has been showcasing actual, like, hey, these, as you asked earlier, these companies they're deployed, they're in market, they're established, they're growing. That's traditional Founders Live, and that's not going to go away. But we're actually very excited to be rolling out, and we're just testing it right now, but basically we just call it Founders Live Build, but there's going to be a new brand name. I need to think about it, and I've got some ideas. But the concept of actually, like, what if you walked into Founders Live? This is like an evening networking event, music's pumping, that's cool. And the 5 founders that you see up on stage pitching, they literally built that on site in the last 2 hours.
Almost like a hackathon.
Essentially, it's you mix a hackathon with a Founders Live, and that's what you get. And, you know, the concept is really here to show people you can build anything. And within 2 hours, you can go from, I just walked in this door, to I think I just created my next thing. That is powerful. And so we're testing this out and to see how it, and we did one here in Seattle, and it was successful, but it was also like, okay, we learned XYZ. And if this works, we're going to then have another model that our cities can do, where it's basically build on site, and then people vote, and there's a winner, and it's all good. And so imagine the ideas that just come out of these things. And it's like cool because, like, it'll be just normal. It's like Founders Live, where you show up, hey, this is great. There's a bunch of people here. The music's pumping. I get a drink in my hand or whatever. But then, you know, what we'll do is announce, like, basically it's like beforehand we announce, like, hey, we're looking for 5 people that want to kind of jump in and take this. It's your opportunity to, like, hack for a few hours, and then you actually are. And the idea here is that it can't be something that had been worked on before.
Okay.
So it's not fair. We're trying to figure out the rules here and just have the format be strong. But basically, people that just pop ideas out and they use some fun tools and AI platforms, and all of a sudden, I mean, and dude, we just totally tried it the other month, and it was crazy to see, like, what was pitched. You could tell was raw, but it was like
there was something there, like something.
No, like some of these things were like kind of pretty to look at, and you're like, wait, that didn't exist 2 hours ago.
Yeah.
So that shows everyone there ain't no excuse anymore.
So as CEO, like, I'm seeing your team have a lot of great ideas you want to do. How do you decide what ideas to actually go to and do, and others like, okay, great idea, but let's put in the back burner for a while?
It's so hard. We use the term above the line and below the line. And right now we have few things that are above the line, meaning the things that we're working on. And it really maps to, like, you know, you have to map out, like, what are our business initiatives? Like, what do we want to accomplish this year? And we set that out every December. We set out and determine the things that we want to accomplish. And then, you know, I set it up. I have a whole process for this, but it basically ends up being 5 or 6 kind of key indicators that we want to achieve. And that's city growth, revenue growth, marketplace, you know, the reach around the world, the initiatives that we want to work on. And so they have to map to our growth indicators, or why are we doing this? And honestly, it's harder than you think. I mean, it's hard to say no to things, right? And I think that's one of the big things we learned is, you know, Founders Live. I mean, we do things like Founders Live Athletes, and we've done, you know, where it's professional athletes to turn entrepreneurs, and that's huge, and it's exciting and it's important. But we've had to pull back some of those in the last, you know, basically the last year, because we needed to focus on the internal systems in the business. And it's not like we'll never have a Founders Live Athletes again. We will, and that's important. But, you know, there's times where you have to say, you know what, like, based on where we're at, we just need to dial in and focus on some things before we spread our wings out again. And it's like, I view it as like out in. It's okay. You kind of oscillate. But there's times when you dial in, and that's what we're doing right now.
Let's say there's a person named Mary Jane. Mary Jone's going to Founders Live Seattle for the first time ever, right? What should Mary Jane do to get the most out of the event?
Well, thanks for showing up to Founders Live your first time. It's exciting to be there, and I would just definitely tell her that. I think the question is she a builder or creator? Like, does she want to build something? Is she a founder, or is she like, hey, I'm just showing up because I want to meet people? Because that's a different, right?
Yeah.
But if they're an entrepreneur, absolutely be watching. Number one is, at some point I'm going to be on that stage and pitch. So you should be watching. You should be watching and how these founders are going about it. Maybe taking some notes or the mental notes of just like, this might your first time watching the 99-second pitch. How are people actually flowing through it? How are they answering the questions? Just kind of how they're handling it. And that's important. But then you definitely should be working the room a little bit. What I mean is meeting people, and, what is your intention of the night in terms of, do you want to meet a few other founders? Are you kind of looking, is there some investors in the room? Have some key questions that you're asking people. That sort of thing, so it should have some intention. And then, in the end, I would just say, like, have fun, engage and raise your hand and ask a question. We really appreciate that. And, funny enough, sometimes there's just, I don't know, people just are like, you've probably heard my joke. I'm like, guys, you're thinking something. Raise your hand and say something, okay? Like, it's funny. Sometimes you don't get questions out of the audience as easy. And so, engage and ask questions, and then, go up and, meet the founders that pitched. Say hi to them. Yeah. Say, hey, I was pretty moved by your pitch. I really enjoyed it. So, trust me, people appreciate that, and the founders appreciate that. So those are the things I would say.
Nick, what's a skill you don't have right now but that you want to learn? What's
a skill? Well, not to say that I think this is getting any more important, because crazy enough with AI, but I'm not really, I'm not technical. I work my way through a lot of the apps that are needed now. For instance, like, I guess a good way to put it is like, look, I can, you take Zapier and I can connect it to things and I can do that, right? But like, I'm not technical. And
you're not coding
no, anything, and I don't think we need to think about even learning to code anymore. No. But I do think the importance of the closer you can get to understanding when you are prompting and when you, the end result of an agent or whatever the case may be, is tremendously important. So I think that's a very, very important skill. And, it's only going to be more important as, I think that we, I always think about Founders Live and like, there was some time where it was like, man, when we have like 100 employees, it's going to be crazy. Well, first of all, there's like more than 100 people that work on Founders Live around the world. They're just not employees. But we literally have, I would say the number's probably about 100. It's 120, 150 people around the world. Like right now, someone's talking about Founders Live, or city leaders are like planning it. Okay. But we don't have, we're a team of like 5 or under. And, I don't know now if we're ever going to get tremendously bigger. And I say that because I think learning how to use the tools and now the agents that are coming out in the best way you can. And I'm not fully saying like, don't ever hire anyone. And so, what's going to happen to all this? That's a whole different story. Okay. We're not Microsoft laying off 20,000 people. Okay. We're Founders Live, and it's just a matter of, are we going to hire 50 or 100 people? And I think any founder from here out needs to tremendously look at how do you use the tools available to you, and especially AI and agents, in the most intelligent way. And I don't know that answer, but that's one thing I really want to learn.
From your point of view, is there a characteristic or value or something that separates like successful people from unsuccessful people?
Yeah, I think the word that came to me was brash, and I don't mean being rude. I actually mean, do you have the capacity to simply try and do things and deal with the results? I think that there was a time in my life where I was a little less of that, and I've learned. And, of course, like, having the backing of like a global brand is obviously helpful, but no matter if you're just starting out or you have something like Founders Live or you've had 3 exits and, you literally are a billionaire, I think the skill set of unabashingly trying things is the difference between success and failure. That's it. Now, there's a lot more that's involved, okay? But when you look at being scared to try things versus I'm just going to do this, man, that's a world of difference. Because what you learn in simply trying things is could be the difference between you going down this path, okay? Now, let's go back to one of your earliest questions. You asked about, was there a time when I thought that Founders Live was going to shut down? And the difference in that was, so during the pandemic, we had to shift to fully virtual. If I didn't have the wherewithal to say, this continues, it doesn't matter if it's in a room full of people or literally in a digital room where we're streaming live, I would have shut down. And I would have said, you know what? I'm not willing to try that. And we simply tried it with like 2 or 3 cities that first few weeks, if you remember. And we were like, yo, that worked. And crazy enough, there was that weird time in the pandemic where it's like everyone started to jump in and, did virtual rooms and Zooms. And like, we were streaming on YouTube and, to this day, so our Founders Live Primetime is our global competition that happens once a year. We still do that all virtual and we stream it to YouTube. And dude, people are watching and you see the comments and they're like in all these countries. And so we discovered something that now works. It works beautifully for just that kind of one thing that we do, not all the time, but just kind of once a year. And, I could have, there were so many organizations that just stopped or shut down because of the pandemic. And we totally pivoted. And so that, I think just being like, no, we're going to try something. Okay. We'll try 5 or 10 things and see what works. And what we learned in that period of time has really influenced some of the things that we're doing now, even if we're back in the real world.
How hard was it to transition from virtual to go back to being in the rooms again?
Weird. It was weird, man. And it was hard because, like, I don't know, like, that was just enough time where people got used to things. And, I think when I say weird, it was just like there was about 6 to 12 months of like, well, we're kind of not doing, or, it was like a jerky thing. And that was, remember that time where it was like, yeah, you can gather, but you still have to wear masks. And it's like, why? What are we doing here? And so that was a little weird. And then, so we expanded I think we launched 15, 16 cities in Indonesia, and they had a really hard time coming back into real life. And so we actually don't really have much going on there right now. But, I did travel there in 2022. So it was kind of at the tail end of the pandemic. Still some masks being worn at times. And so some cities, it's just strange, man. Like over the growth of Founders Live, we've had cities pop up. It's kind of like whack-a-mole in a way, and pop up, pop down, and then so the cities that really grew in the pandemic, when we launched them in the pandemic, they had a harder time in the real world. Just it's easier to spin up an event virtually than to actually have a venue. And like all the mechanics.
But it's not like, it's nothing like being in person though. It's
wow. Well, it's only more important. Going forward, okay, you realize, like I mentioned earlier, I'm very excited about the future of Founders Live because of the AI, like the shift and what the tools are. The barriers of entry are much lower, and I believe a lot more people will explore entrepreneurship in various ways. But you realize the importance of a in-person meaningful, authentic event that, trust me, sooner than later, but sooner, you're seriously like, the question of, is this real, is going to be a frequent question every single day.
You're right. Yeah.
What the hell? I don't want that. I mean, I'm not excited about that future, but like, you can very well believe that if you're sitting in a Founders Live event, that's a damn real experience, and we like that.
So Nick, how has your own leadership gotten better?
Yeah, I mean, it's just been. Let's go back to that concept I was telling you about, 10C, and this thing I just created, which is like, I just want to do a sprint. Typically, these 10C things go about a quarter, so about 12, 13 weeks ish, or whatever, 10 weeks. But my leadership has grown because I'm pushing myself in these ways, because I realize like it's important. Like, if we want to continue to grow as a company and as a brand, and as personally, if I want to continue to grow leading people, I want to be CEO and leader as long as I can, and as long as I should. And I think growth for me, I have to choose to do it. So I do these sort of things. I have a coach that I talk to twice a month, so once every 2 weeks. She's very great and really helpful in terms of helping me see things about myself that I normally or necessarily wouldn't. And so it's just, gaining that perspective from essentially a coach and an advisor. And then the whole thing about that 10C was me doing it. There's no one suggested that. It was really crazy that I adopted this, but that to me is like, I literally like have it on my calendar, and it's like I do that. So basically on the weekends, Saturday is like my day where I go through this a little bit, and it's like a workout. And to me, like, that's how I improve my leadership, is through intentional growth and training, and then obviously interacting with people and, learning from there.
So so Dale was a coach for you back in the day, and you had this lady here. So how do you go about picking these coaches, right? Because this is my personal opinion. I think 95% of coaches should not be coaches, right? I mean, 5% should be coaches. A lot of them don't need to be coaches, right? So how do you pick the coaches that are right for you?
Well, I think it's a process. It's a relationship. These both were organic, and I think that they were great in their own reasons. Dale was around. He actually lives. He lives in Washington State, and so, but it's definitely not in Seattle. So like, we were working pretty closely for the first few years, and then, it's just been a little lighter. I don't know. I'm not saying I outgrew him, because for sure he works with a lot larger companies, but it just like kind of took its course right now. I'm hoping that we can get back in touch. But this other one, she's actually in Boston, and I met her as I traveled there. This was in 2019, and she had attended a Founders Live event. She's like, wow, this is really great. And she's kind of wrapped into like the Harvard community and some other people there, and but definitely not probably what you mentally thought. I mean, she's just like, she's very worldly and very 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 knowledgeable about the universe. And so yeah, we just, she reached out, and we set up time to meet and talk, and it just became both of us saying, this, I see some potential here. And she only takes certain number of clients, and I honestly, to be very honest, I'm pretty protective. I normally say no to these things. Mm-hmm. And I said yes. And dude, we've been working for 7 years together. It's awesome, nice. Right? Like, literally every 2 weeks for roughly 7 years.
That's great. You always hear about the horror stories. Jason hired Mary Jane for coach, and Mary Jane wants $20,000, and nothing's given,
and that's why, like, if you do your diligence and you really look in, and ideally I think you tiptoe in the water. Hopefully they let you tiptoe in the water. What that means is, you're going to say, hey, here's my questions, here's my concerns, but most importantly, like, let's try this. Like, she was just very like, let's try this, and we keep trying, and we keep going, and all of a sudden it's a year in, and then it's 5 years in, and but because I desire it, right? Like, she has zero desire to work with anyone that is a waste of time and or just wasting her time, their time. Zero. Like, she's not a therapist that is just kind of keeping her job. She is a coach. That I think that's the difference, is coaches are drawn to people that are drawn to them, and they do it for those reasons. And she sees that I see the big picture, and that's why we work together. And so look, everyone, you got to find your match.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And so if you need to talk to 3 or 5 before you find the, like, that's the person I trust. They have wisdom and vision that I am looking for. Let's continue.
So how do you make sure that you, what's I'm looking for? Like, you tell this coach, like, the personal details they need to know, right? Because a lot of people, like, they're like, oh, my life's top secret. I can let them know this, How do you make sure, like, okay,
yeah,
I need to tell this coach everything I can?
Yeah, and you have to have the ability to open up. But you also, like, I obviously, like, I choose to tell her what I tell her. And she's, first of all, she ain't, like, she's not prying. Okay. A good coach doesn't pry. A good coach communicates with you to pull out thoughts, and through conversation, I look to her to educate me on the bigger picture that's going on. And I think great coaches help you see the big, I'm talking the big picture, okay? The, like, universe picture, like what are we doing here? Not the, okay, this is you need to do this to get revenue enough. Okay, that's not. So, basically through, I would say, enough conversation, but, it was pretty clear pretty quickly. I was like, this is the person I want to be around. And I think I encourage anyone to do that, right? And everyone has their own match and where they're at in life. So that's what I look for, right?
So, Nick, you've been around founders for over a decade. Are you able to, like, meet with, say, Tom Brown and know within 10 minutes if this guy has what it takes to be a successful person?
Yeah, it's crazy. So, and here's where I'm going to be a little harsh and a little blunt. Okay. So, I can tell, okay. Like, I can freaking tell. I've traveled the world. I've met founders and, on every continent, and there is, like, an unspoken energy, and then there's a spoken, kind of truth or not truth. And what that is when someone comes up and talks to me, or like, I watch them in their pitch, okay? I can tell if this person believes both in themselves, in, like, kind of what they're doing, and actually believes in what they're actually saying is, like, their business, okay? And I can see when they don't. I can just see it. I'm like, and I'm not saying that they're lying.
Is something in the eyes or something, or just their expression, or?
Dude, it's
just
the entire package.
Okay.
Like, it's the way they're standing. Okay. Confident people are big. They're strong. It doesn't matter if it's a man or a woman. They're just standing in a way that they are exuding presence and confidence. And then people that are, like, nervous and or, like, I'm not sure of myself yet, they stand closed. It's just like, you can just see it. The way that they are speaking, the pacing, how many ums they have versus strength words, what tense are they using? Think about this for a second.
That's a good one. Yeah.
I'm going to. Yeah. We're going to. Oh, well, okay. You haven't yet. You see what I'm saying? It's just crazy. And you're like, oh my God, I just heard that. I just sensed that person is like, well, we're going to. And you're like, you haven't even launched yet. Okay. Like, you're unconfident in what you're doing. If someone's like, we've done this. Like, dude, I just, look, Founders Live has had events in 155 cities. It's not like we're going to. Now, are we active in all of those? No, because life happens and all that. But this thing has happened. And I think that's where I noticed that.
Yeah, people don't realize that Muhammad Ali said he was the greatest way before he even won his first championship fight.
Yeah.
He said, I'm the greatest. Yeah.
I am the greatest, not I will be.
Even before he won anything.
And, and again, like, this is not to say, like, look, people, okay, I'm just launching. Great. But understand the words you're using. Okay. Secondly, build in the things that you believe in. Okay. Like, and this falls into, like, I think when people get out of their capacity, I don't know, for any reason, you can sense that they're just like, because like, look, I would be pretty unconfident if I was building, SpaceX competitor,
Yeah.
or like space data centers. I don't really know about those. Okay. So like, I would be the unconfident person where they're like, oh geez, like this guy doesn't know what the hell he's talking about. Yes, this is true. So you think about that. And so like, first of all, is like, are you like, what sort of expert are you in this industry or this thing that you're building? Do you have that experience before? How long you've been doing this? Okay. What I'm saying is that within a few minutes, I can tell if this person is committed enough to go the distance, or if I'm like, that person's not committed enough. Okay. And that's all I'm saying. Yeah. I'm not saying that I hope that everyone can be successful, but I can sense it when I'm like, man, and some of it's like, what am I feeling right now? That's what I'm feeling. Something is off with this person. And I see it with city leaders too. And it sucks because like, I want to trust them, and, and I think I'm getting better at being able to say not yet, or making them go through a few more hurdles to prove that they are ready or not. For instance, like, dude, if anyone wants to be a city leader now, they fill out, we have a application form. It's like, hey, they're literally like, I want to lead this. And it's like all these questions. It's like they can type in the city. So it's a lot of times it's a new city. Yeah. I'm the right person because and they write this. And by the way, yes, I can already now tell when you've just this is a chat GPT, like for like the thing that they're applying to Lead Founders Live. I'm like, so here's the thing. They submit that. The next step is you must submit a 5-minute video or up to 5 minutes and answering 2 questions. Basically, it's like, what attracts you to this opportunity, and what did you start from 0 to 1? Like, tell me a time where you actually started something and you started from 0 and it became something much bigger than you thought. They need to submit that video. Okay. By the way, less than half, maybe less than a quarter of the people that fill out forms now even take that next step. And I don't even talk to them if like they're not. They're like, you need to take the step before we set up a call. Yeah. And so it's like, even right there, I'm putting hurdles in place for them to like step through and prove that they are committed enough to do this. And I see it with city leaders. I see it with founders. And I think the lesson here is, well, like, sometimes it takes a little time to get into your place and confidence. And, that's the important thing to work on. And you need to be true here, and people will sense that.
Yeah, I agree with you. So some people will say build on stealth. Other people say build on public. Does it matter if you build on stealth or build on public? Is one better than the other?
I would say public, in the sense that, what are you hiding? Or like, what are you fearful of? And, fine, if you guys want to be underneath the hood for a little while, but you're delaying any sort of truth if you don't come out and have something available as soon as possible. And by the way, let's go back to the Founders Live build concept, where we would have the events that would actually be like they hacked on it like 2 or 3 hours ago. They didn't even have this thing. They walk in, 5 people built, they pitched on stage, and then they get a response. You think about how powerful that is compared to, hey, we're working on this idea for months and months and months. And oh, by the way, no one outside of your little team gave you any honest feedback. That is essentially losing time. And so this is another thing I've got. I'm much more passionate and focused on that than I would say like starting Founders Live. Hey, be stealth. That's cool. No. Build in public.
So you talk about these ideas you have with Founders Live. What's an idea you tried in the past? You're like, man, this didn't work out.
Yeah, I think I said this before. We have not had success in like a digital community where people go on and meet each other and chat and all that. Okay. And I have
like a Founders Live Slack or something like that. Okay.
No, my theory is No one has time for another one. Like, I think what's so weird is we had something, I don't know if you remember this, but before the pandemic, we were actually using we used Mighty Networks, and we basically had like,
I remember Mighty Networks.
Yeah, you were on there. And, look, that was a time and place. And it was like, it solved like, it was actually the founderslive.com. It was like, you go there and like, it was like,
I remember that, yeah.
The home was literally like a member space, and, there was all these channels and you could meet people and blah, 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 and blah. Dude, the pandemic hit. We all went virtual, and there was just all these like digital things for startups and founders and blah, 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 blah. Okay. It just got washed. And I honestly think that there was all these things that were calling for people's attention, and everyone's like, I'm not going to join. Like, seriously, like, people aren't going to join more than 5 things ish. And then that washed out, and they're only engaging in a few. And when you have LinkedIn, by the way, because LinkedIn has enough chat mechanism, we realize that this is not working for us. And look, we do the hard thing. We do the hard thing, which is the in-person events that gather 100, 200 people in a room. Like, that's the hardest thing. We have these things all around the world. That's the hardest thing. And what we realized was people came to Founders Live for the IRL, the in real life, intangibles, the things to connect with people, to meet. They're not coming to Founders Live to type in, to chat and like,
no.
I mean, what's the point, right?
Yeah.
So I think there's a big lesson where I can't tell you how many times, man, as I travel, I can't tell you how many times people are like, hey, this is like really great, but like, how do I interact online with it? And we've tried it a few times. Honestly, we've tried it. We even have something right now. We have we kind of use Circle as, I mean, it's just there, and it's like we're kind of messing with it, and no one interacts with it, man.
Do you have like competition? You see the leaders, like to see who can get the most people in the event month to month, or anything like that?
That's another thing we've thought about, but we'll probably see a little more of that metrics come out over time. But again, it's like, the cities function or not totally on different levels of, it's in some ways hard to be like, Seattle's just different compared to, Cairo's different.
Yeah.
By the way, Cairo will have 900 people sign up for the event. Okay. Almost 1,000. Seattle here has roughly 150 to 200 sign up. And in the room, basically Cairo and Seattle have about the same amount of people in the room, which is strange. So like Cairo will have almost 1,000 people sign up, and then they'll have 125 show up, or like they have space for 125. So we kind of got to figure out, maybe they get in a bigger venue, but it's cities are different. And so to have them compete when the dynamics, it's like, dude, you can't compete when the rules are different in all these different cities and countries. But, we measuring KPIs and measuring how effective and consistent they are is something that we will be doing more as we go forward.
On average, how long does a city leader stay a city leader?
Basically 2 years.
2 years, okay.
And we've had city leaders for 5 or 6 years. We've had city leaders for 3 months. And that's not what we want. But
you give them like any kind of a gift or award, or like some kind of plaque or anything, or like some kind of whatever it is.
We used to actually, I used to call it the Dale Award. Actually, I didn't give one out last year. We don't do any sort of like of that milestone recognition. Okay. It's just not the traditional of what we've done. But these are things that, again, like, as below the line, above the line, those are going to become above the line here pretty soon. And I do think it's important to recognize time. And, we have a few city leaders that have been around quite some time right now. It's pretty cool. And, honestly, I was saying this earlier today. It's like, I think, weirdly, the best city leaders are the ones that they're just in the cycle, okay? And they had, you can tell they're doing it for their own reason now because they're just like consistent, and you're like, well, look at that. And, I know it's going to come to an end at some point. That's fine. They've basically overachieved what I even thought that they would, and they're probably in year 3 or 4 now. And so what we asked for is 18 to 24 months. And if you can do that, you're either going to be stuck in it. You're like, I love this. Or you're going to be like, hey, life's happening. I need to pass the baton. 18 to 24 months allows for just, especially if they're launching a city. Okay, that's 6 to 8 events.
Yeah.
They should be able to hand off to someone, and it just keeps the pace.
So Nick, how often do you look yourself in the mirror and say, you know what? I built something great. Like, I'm doing the damn thing. I'm proud of myself.
I do. And I think probably not as often as I maybe should. And what I mean by that is it is so dang easy to, I guess take it for granted, meaning like, oh, this is my life. Okay. And like, we all have our daily and weekly struggles and challenges. And it's so easy to get lost in the minutia, the grind, and the frustration, right? Like if you have up and downs, or revenue up and downs. I mean, trust me, we got hit. This has not been a fun year because of the global war, and that affects companies that are spending money or not. I mean, this is a trickle down thing. So it's been a challenging year for us, man. And we're still expanding. We're rocking. It's okay. But in those moments, it's easy to like see the negative, and there's days then, well, I have to like shake myself out and be like, yo, this is tremendous. Okay. So I'm not immune to it either. And I think the lesson for any founder is, no matter what you've done, look, Founders Live is nowhere where I want it. And, we want to reach millions and tens of millions of people, and that should happen here in the next few years. But I can tell you that I am aware of the impact, and I am aware of how cool it is. And I have to remind myself sometimes.
Talk some about like startup founder burnout and depression, and mental health, and how we can help prevent that.
It's crazy, man. And yeah, I think it's just, I think it's important to understand that what you're doing is very unique. Essentially you're choosing a very difficult fight. And I just use that word as fight. Like, okay, like, I don't know, like a UFC fight or something. You're choosing to do this. Okay? Like, you've put yourself in this position. And as a founder, you're kind of inherently choosing the hard road. Those are the rules of the game. Okay? And all of that to say that sometimes a lot of this is our self-created problems. And the moment you identify these as self-created problems, the great thing is you can accept responsibility to overcome your self-created problems and create self-created solutions. Okay? And so I think that that's number one. Sometimes we can get lost in our depth of depression or whatever, and I deal with it, man. Like, I deal with the ups and downs, and I think in the end, by the way, the coach is so important. Okay, like, she is so important. To keep every 2 weeks is enough where I'm like, oh, okay, great, we're gonna chat with her again. So she brings me up from some of the places I am. But I think that's why Founders Live is so important, is we create spaces where people can connect, and they can be inspired, and they can see their community, and they can be uplifted, and they can obviously, if you choose to pitch, you can get on stage and you can experience that. So I think that's important. But man, this is not to say that I'm not minimizing the absolute challenges. I think entrepreneurship, by its own nature, whether it attracts the people that might be a little more susceptible to mental challenges, I think it uncovers or creates opportunity to be pressured in a way that can create those.
I agree. What's your take on this, right? I think a lot of people that start companies, but like they start a company, they tell their wife or their husband or the best friends, whatever, hey, I'm doing this business, right? But their friends and the spouse are really all in on it. Like they understand what they're doing, they don't understand right. And people realize if you start a company, right, you still have to like hopefully you're taking a bath, doing laundry, like you're still doing life things, right? I think a lot of people forget how much time that takes.
Well, yeah,
you still have to live. You still have to adult.
You still have to adult. You still have to live. And, I think another thing, what's weird about what I'm going to say next is I think that there was a time and place that this was more, obvious or impactful. And I'm talking about now the media, the news media, TechCrunch. It's like, I don't read TechCrunch every day anymore kind of thing. And I used to back in the day when it was a little more popular. Obviously we have GeekWire here. And, I think that they do at least a good job to not simply write about all the crazy fundraisers and basically meaning like keep talking about the fact that all these crazy outlier successes of these startups, which basically then influences all of us founders think we should be raising not just millions anymore, billions of dollars. If we're not a $1 billion plus company, then we're like worthless. That's a lot of BS. And I think the media from 2010 to 2020, I really think that became, or if not earlier than that, but I think it became a lot more of that where they're just talking a lot about these startups that are doing all this, and all of us else people are like, what am I? What are we?
Yeah, I make this up, but I read a stat the other day where it's like in 2025, more money is raised every four, but 86% of it would only like 14 or 15 companies.
It's messed up.
Yeah.
First of all, we have entered a world. It's not normal anymore. It's going to be a wacky time, and the way that they measure these things needs to change because it's inaccurate. You can't sit here and say, oh, best year ever of VC when OpenAI and Anthropic are raising these. It doesn't even freaking make sense. Okay.
Doesn't, no.
And then, oh, by the way, if you strip out those, it's actually not the best time. And it's actually harder for early stage startups to raise.
Yeah.
That's the data. And more importantly, I think it's more important now than ever to focus on cash flow, revenue, cash flow positive, and get sustainable.
Get your financials in order.
Just getting sustainable, guys. And we're obviously working on that too with Founders Live. It's just like that's a absolute focus of how I run Founders Live, and sometimes we're there and sometimes we're not. It's like costs go up, and so I think that the way that our world spoke about, or basically like kind of told the story is, so here's the point. We all decide to be founders and we tell our family and friends, and all of a sudden they lock on to, oh, why are you not a $1 billion, or like, why are you not successful yet?
You've been doing this for 6 months. What's wrong with you?
Right. And then that has negative effects on our mental health and our self-esteem and all that stuff. And I go back to, y'all, you chose this. More importantly, this is a hard road. If you want an easy road, go work at a company. And by the way, they're now laying off people. So what are you going to do? Right? Now, what are you going to do is now back to entrepreneurship.
Yeah.
And our job with Founders Live is to make that path better. And our hope is that, I think one of my end road success points is, did we make the ecosystem so that the path was, I'm not saying easier, but more companies were able to become sustainable and successful because of Founders Live, and that then changes lives.
Do you have something something that says, Founders Live, since we started in 2014, we've like done 20,000 pitches, we've started 10,000 companies, we have like 15 exits, all those kind of metrics.
We kind of the problem is like the exits and like the results, like it's hard to track that. We actually don't, and we're starting to spin some more AI around that, but we do have internal metrics around that stuff, or like it's like 25,000-30,000 startups. It's pretty massive. like I said, we have some things this fall that's going to grow that tremendously. I mean, we'll probably grow 500,000, possibly 1 million people, like if everything goes well by December 31st. Okay.
Nice.
So I talked about the marketplace, but I also we want to cross the 1 million person mark this year as well. So 1 million in revenue, 1 million people. That would be a great end of the year.
Talk about the importance of founders knowing the importance of when to pivot. Like when to pivot. I think there's a fine line between staying your course and going for it. Then okay, maybe I need to pivot. Right. I think that's a fine line.
Yeah, it is a fine line. And well, if you've been grinding for 6 months, like if it's been 6 months or more and you're not seeing the number that you're looking at that's important, whatever that number is, if you haven't moved at all and you've tried a number of things, like, you're experimenting like I talked about before, I believe 6 months or more, it's like you got to try something else. And then I think from the entire thing, if you're a year plus in and, basically like it ain't really working, I'm not saying revenue shouldn't like replace a salary because like sometimes that is going to take years. Okay. But if you're not seeing a path where you have indicators from the market that people are adopting it, they want it, you get traction, what we call that. And if you're not seeing that within 6 months, a year, like it's time to really consider, right? And so then it's like, hey, are you going to pivot concepts? Are you going to shut this entire thing down? I made this mistake before Founders Live. I held on for a little too long, and it became pretty painful actually. And so I think it's pulling it quicker than you'd want. So
I don't know if you know this, but how often does a founder pitch a company, and then 6 months they shut it down and they start another company, pitch Founders Live all over again?
We've had some obviously repeat founders in terms of new ideas. I think that cycle is probably about I bet you it's about a 2-year thing. Like if someone pitched at Founders Live, 3-6 months later, they just make that decision and they shut things down and they kind of adopt a new idea or a new concept, and then they're working on it 3 to 6 months. That becomes about a 2-year thing. So I think that's probably what we would see is someone within. I think it's about a 2-year, not like a year. It's just too quick. But what we've had is, we have had people that are like, hey, we quickly learned that what we're doing is a little, we shifted and a year later it's like, oh, okay, it's a kind of a new thing. Or it's a slight angle on it. So for instance, actually one of our founders, a winner in Seattle, it was called Rome. So basically she was doing Airbnb for dogs. And actually that it was like like people who had dogs could basically rent out their backyard as a kind of a where you could bring your dog and it could be there for the day. It could play around and hang out, and then they pick it up at night or whatever. Just like basically dog owners could make money by renting their space and having like a dog play and all that stuff. It's kind of cool. And I was like, oh, that's kind of insightful. And she won Founders Live because her pitch was like really a great pitch. And then they shifted. She had some trouble having this go to market and especially investment. So she shifted to actual kind of AI infused software for the pet industry and specifically dogs around, what's it called? Like the dog training places and other organizations and companies that would use software around pets. They're having traction in that area. And so it's still dog and pet oriented. It's not what they had pitched before. And I just received information. They've raised a little bit of money and they're off and running. And so it's great. And, success to them. So, you see that sometimes where even our winners, they got to a point where they're like, hey, this is not tracking in the way we want. And I think you would call that that's a traditional pivot, which is same general direction, changed a little bit of the angle, and now we're building this way with XYZ difference.
How often does this happen, right? Like you listen to a pitch and the person gives a great pitch, but the details are like, okay, she's a great communicator. He or she's a great communicator, great stage presence, charismatic, can sell ice cream to XMO, but the details of the pitch just ain't there, right? There's no way this is going to make it.
Yeah. Well, you get both, okay? So the way you mapped it out, it's like this person is very charismatic. They may even have the story, but like you can kind of see through the business. You're like, I'm not buying that. I don't think so. And then you can have the totally or like a very intriguing thing. And they're even hitting on certain like, okay, like, yes, hit on it. But yet they like are not enunciating very well. They're nervous on stage. You can even see the mic shaking. I mean, there's people who walked out with like note cards, and it's like, yo, come on, don't do that. Please don't do that. You're reading this thing, or like reading their phone. So a point is that, there are times when, people land the pitch and yet they lack charisma. And then there's people that like have pretty well, they can speak well on stage and they're just bombing the pitch. And so I've seen it all.
We can't all be Steve Jobs, right?
No. But I think the lesson here is like, well, look, whether you have the speaking skills or not, clearly, like we have preparation materials.
I know you'll provide like coaches.
Dude, we have
coaches.
Here in Seattle, we have Coach. Melissa is great. And actually a lot of her information's pulled into the what we call the perfect pitch package. And so you can utilize that. And, in the end, I would just say follow the system. But some people are a little more advanced and some people aren't. But even if you're not advanced and you're nervous, if you just go through and have this method and make sure that you're hitting on the specific things about a pitch that need to be there, you're going to do fine. And the cool thing about Founders Live is it's the learning place.
Yeah.
Like you're not raising $1 million, $10 million from it, or like that's not what it's there for. But it's there to like go through the motions and experience it so that you improve.
Do y'all help people raise money? Do you have like internal investors or internal angel investors, anything like that?
We don't, but we are building out the deal flow aspect of Founders Live. So, and by the way, this is a bit premature to talk about, but we are starting the process of we either will have a syndicate behind Founders Live, or eventually we'll have a fund of some point. But we're now down the road of that. I've got at least one person that has a syndicate and he's raising a fund and he wants to go down this road with us. So we're going to really figure that out. But the deal flow concept is something we want to continue to build out, which is, it's true right now. As an investor, you can literally tap Founders Live and into Founders Live. You can tell us all these filtering criteria from geography, stage, industry, age of company. Are they raising money? How much are they raising? What stage? Gender. And you can hit a button and we can start bringing actual deal flow just on a consistent basis based on those criteria. You can do that now. And we've tested out if that's a priced model that we want to roll out. But what that is then making a direct introduction to the founder and, hey, Joe, such and such investor is interested in talking with you. You meet their criteria. Looks like you're raising right now. We're going to make that introduction. And so we're working on what that looks like at scale. So
Nick, what do you have going on the next few weeks that people should know about?
Hey, if you're in Seattle, you're listening to this in Seattle, we have Founders Live Seattle, which is May 28th, Thursday. Check that. It's the last Thursday, I believe. It's May 28th. It's actually going to be at it's at 90. And
okay, I know that.
The Climate Hub.
Climate Hub, yeah.
It's awesome, yeah.
That's how I saw you last time, I think.
Yeah. So we're going to be there. And you know, it's gonna be a little climate focused, which is great. And man, there's a good list of people that signed up. So if you want to check it out, it's gonna be tight, but we'd love to have you. And let's see, we were gonna do a sports oriented World Cup event, but we actually moved away from that. So it's unfortunate for that. But this, if you go back to what I was saying earlier, which is the things that we needed to focus on. So we pulled that back. But we're going to do some bigger things this fall here in Seattle. And then I will be here until early August, and I will be leaving for Africa. That looks like August 1st.
And besides Founders Live, do you do any other networking events, like any other things you go to?
Yeah, I'm in and out of things. I'm a bit busier, and I just guard my time a little bit more. But there was a time where I was like going to quite a few things. It's fun, But yeah, I mean, WTA has a lot of great things. You know, WTA are very supportive sponsors and partners of ours. So really support them. So usually I'm going to something. They have something once a month.
And so Nick, you're actually from Seattle?
I grew up in Yakima, so Eastern Washington.
Okay.
Yeah. So, but I've basically lived in the state my entire life.
So how long have you been in Seattle?
Yeah, let's see, 23 years.
Okay, here's a question for you. Let's suppose a friend or relative comes to Seattle first time ever. Where are you taking them to? You're the tourist guide for like 2 or 3 days. Where are you gonna have them to see?
Well, you know what's crazy is I would have said the Columbia Tower Club. Just
yeah, they fucking closed down recently. Yeah.
Oh man, that's a whole thing. Yeah, Columbia Tower Club. We kind of miss you already. I believe it was the best view of Seattle simply from the restaurant. You can take them up there and you can have a beer, have a dinner, and it was just fun, right? So, you know, I take them there. You know, I actually have not been on the Space Needle in a while, but if someone really wanted to check the Space Needle out, I'm going to take them there. Here's another one that I experienced that I would take someone on now, which is the seaplanes.
I haven't done that either.
Dude, I did that a year ago last year, and I filmed it for like actually the Exploring Greatness stuff because I did a U.S. thing last week. It's awesome.
I need to do that then.
Y'all listening? I mean, it was like 100. I don't know. It was $120 or something. It was awesome. Okay. Actually, you know what? Side note, I think it was like 65 or 70 because I bought 2 tickets. I would do that with them. So you take today, okay, everyone, it's early May. It's literally like 75 degrees, sunny here in Seattle. It's the best, okay? I guarantee those flights today were just pristine.
Oh, yeah.
And so I would take someone on that. It's a view of the city and like the mountains and the water that you can't do. Now, I would also, so my sister and her family, my sister lives out in Silverdale, which is kind of out Bremerton, out a bit on the islands there. And so a ferry ride that, especially in sunny, it's a nice sunny day as well.
Yeah,
Ferry is incredible.
I love going to Bainbridge Island once in a while. There's a view from the ferry from Bainbridge Island. That's great.
Yeah, come on. These are like, you start to see like this city in such a unique place. If it is, I would definitely bring someone to a Seahawks game if it's a Sunday, Mariners game, Sounders game. So get them in the stadium in some way, shape, or form. And you got to experience that, especially a Seahawks game. You know, those are great. So hopefully a Sonics game here in the next couple of years.
Pretty soon, yeah. That's it looks like it too, yeah. Is there anything I should ask you that I haven't asked you yet, or anything else you want to talk about?
Jeez, man. I don't know. I think you really, really covered it. I think the big thing is, I think you touched on something that I guess I would expand on, which is, going back to like, has there been a point in time where I was going to shut down Founders Live or not? And I think that I said it earlier, which is like, there's inflection points and there's decision points. And it's normal to go through these phases where you have that and you're like, you know what? Like, again, it's like, if I shut down Founders Live right now, I would be really disappointed and sad, but I would also have the ability to go back and say, wow, I literally look at that. 12 plus almost 13 years, this thing went all around the world. That is tremendously impressive. And I didn't want to do that. And I think in the end, when you look at, when there's times, everyone goes through these where you're like, there's a why in the road. And it's not to say that it's the wrong decision either way. But I think I've gone through a few of those, and definitely one recently. And I would say in the end, I've fully committed to, this is my life, right? And I think the moment you fully commit to that, it's a much deeper thing. This is not, I've never been in the because I see this all the time with the founders pitching. You go back to what you said earlier. It's like, are they in it? Are they going to be successful? And it's like, no, they're just flipping an idea. Mm-hmm. They're so not committed lifetime wise. And I'm not putting judgment on someone, but I can tell you right now, like this, I have been through a few times where I'm like, no, this is my life, man. And it went through a process. Founders Live was this, I threw together Feature Friday. And now it's turned out to be like literally my entire life in the sense of, it's a pursuit. And I fully enjoy building this business, this brand. Each year I pick a part of the world and go travel it. Like, what's not to like about it, right? And so I think I would hope that everyone gets to a point where you said, this is my life, my pursuit, versus I'm going to try to flip this company in 2 years. Because I think that that's a whole different perspective, in my opinion.
Has this happened? Like somebody reach out to you, hey, Nick, I love what you're doing there. Really admire it. But here's 6 years, come work for me.
Yeah, I mean, I will say that I loosely looked at and interviewed for a spot here in Seattle recently, that simply because I wanted the intel. Mm-hmm. I mean, I wasn't gonna. It was numerous six figures, and I just kind of wanted to know and see what they're doing in some ways. And but I literally had to say, because I was like, hey, they said, we want someone that's full-time, that, clearly is not building their own thing. And, I came back and said, even that amount of money, I'm building Founders Live. Yeah. And so, I mean, I know it's crazy to say this, okay? I know it's crazy. But if someone offered if there was $1 billion offer on the table, $1 billion, which I own much more than 90% of Founders Live, actually. So there would be a lot of money in the bank if they were like, we'll take this off your hands, we'll acquire you, but we're going to take it all, and you move on.
Yeah.
I wouldn't take it. Yeah. Okay. And the reason why is because I just would be so empty, and I don't know what else. Look, this is my life. This is what I'm doing. And I want to continue it. I want to build. It provides me a playground to continue to innovate and create. And yes, of course, I can just next year, create the new thing, but it's Founders Live, right? It's got a life and it's got a soul. And so obviously looking at that deal right on the table would be a different story. Dude, imagine looking at a deal for $1 billion.
That'd be insane.
Seriously.
Yeah.
I mean, I know that y'all are listening and you're like, really, Nick? And I would say, yeah, I would actually look at it, and I probably would turn it down. The reason why is, geez, if someone's giving you $1 billion offer, there's something up ahead that's even better. And more importantly, I value the years of doing this, and until I'm done traveling, I think that is you can't put a number on that, man. No, what I'm going to experience across Africa is going to be incredible. And I don't want to give that away. And if they were obviously there's hey, Nick, we'll acquire you. You just keep being Nick. And, there is that path. But I'm just mapping out if I had to step away, the answer is no. And even if we did the acquisition of, hey, you just keep doing Founders Live and Nick and everything, but we're going to own it all, I don't think I would say that yes either, because I started this to own something, man.
Have you thought about this? Like, you started Founders Live back in the day. You did all this traveling to see these people. When you're like in your older age, like 70, 80, you know, all the memories you're going to have, like,
if I can remember them all.
I mean, yeah, there's that too, but you know, like all the stuff.
Yeah,
you know?
I think about this a lot, man. First of all, I think it's weird to say, but like, I don't know. Like, first, like I exercise numerous times a week. I go out and running and all that, and I feel like I'm going to be the 80-year-old running on the street. That's, you know, you see those old dudes, and they're just like, and you're like, yo, look at you, man. I feel like I'm going to be the 80-year-old just going on a 3-mile run, right? That's what I want to do. But I don't know, man. I don't know how long I'm going to be here. And
yeah.
I think that moves me to build hard for Founders Live right now, because if I am exiting a little early, then I want this to continue. Like, Founders Live will continue. Yeah. And by the way, I get on planes. I go to random places in the world. So I actually, each year when I do, I actually write like this letter and I give it to Luis, and I just say, man, it literally says only open if Nick doesn't come back.
Yeah.
I do this.
Yeah.
I'm not joking. And it's basically like, if, you know, plane goes down or anything happens, you know, it's like, here's what happens next. And I've got some there's activities to be done. And, I think about this a lot. Okay.
Yeah.
Like, when you're like in the Des Moines of, if you're like in Des Moines of Indonesia, and you're in this city that's literally in the middle of the island, because by the way, Indonesia is all these different islands, and you're in the middle, like, no one speaks English, you don't know where you are. Dude, I've been in cars in there, and they don't really respect the lines very well. Okay, I'm serious. Like, it's scary when you're in cars, automobiles over there, and I've just been like, okay, like, this is it. Not to say I thought I would die, but like, if you're like, dude, if we get in a wreck right now, like, I'm done. Yeah. And I've had to come to terms with that. And so that's the risk of traveling like this is, you know, I might not come back, and I'm fine with that, actually. And so, I've thought about this, and I think in the end, I would love to be 80 and look back and be like, man, look at all these countries. Look at all these people I've impacted and that we impacted, and look at the world now. But if it's sooner than that, then it still applies, and, you know, let it be known that I was like doing the thing I love. I think that's the big thing, is like, I'm out there doing the thing I love.
One that kills me, like, you hear the people, like, people say, oh, I'll travel when I retire. So you're going to wait till 65, 70. Oh. You don't know what your house going to be like. You don't know what, you know, like, you might be able to get around.
Your knees are bad.
Yeah. You just like, do it now.
Oh, and I understand. I'm it's kind of a blessed situation. It's a unique situation. I understand that. But my encouragement to everyone is figure a way to be able to do the things you want to do, and especially like see the world. Like,
and maybe like don't go to like Thailand, but maybe like if you live in Dallas, go to Nashville, you know. If you live in Miami, go to Atlanta, you know, like go somewhere.
The one thing I learned, man, is the world is a big place, okay? And there is a lot of unique places in this world to see, and, you know, I think some of my favorite times, and sometimes it's like by myself, literally like, you know, sitting like Brazil, like sitting there watching the sunset, and I'll go grab a couple beers, and dude, Brazil, it's amazing. Like the beaches, and I was in Rio, and there's just all these rocks that people just go out and sit and like hang out and watch the sunset, and it's just beautiful. And I've just been there. I've just been like, this is incredible. And so I have a lot of those memories, and you know, I think people getting out of their neighborhood, getting out of their city, meeting strangers that, by the way, don't speak the language you speak, and seeing culture is probably one of the most human and actually like deep things you can do.
It is, I agree. Nick, how can people reach out to you?
Yeah. I'm fairly active on LinkedIn. I mean, like, you can find me on LinkedIn. You can obviously founderslive.com, and you can find us there. Obviously, hey, if you're going to get information from us if you attend an event or you just start interacting, so my email's pretty easy to find if you can guess it, and feel free to reach out to me there. But I'm less active on Instagram, Facebook, and all those. Less active there, but LinkedIn definitely. And feel free to find us and reach out.
So Nick, you give us a lot of great value, a lot of great advice. But before we get out of here, give us any last minute wisdom or advice or anything you want to talk about.
Well, yeah, I would just say you gotta just try, okay? And if you're listening to this and whether you haven't done anything yet as like I'm going to go out on my own and I'm going to create something. I'm going to build a startup. Just get started. There's things like Founders Live and others. And, Jason, you have things around that you do that there's a community here. Okay. And get started and you will know your next move. Okay. And then the person who is maybe at that, should I shift? Should I shut down? There's always something new out there, okay? And you can cycle through and, pivot or, adjust and find something that really does fit you. And I think that just don't be scared to make that decision or those decisions. But hey, if you're interested, come to Founders Live and then maybe get started and just see what happens.
Nick, thanks for your time again. I really appreciate it.
Jason, this is awesome. You are always an engaging conversation, man.
Thanks. Thanks for listening to Jason Cavness Experience. If this gave you something useful, share it with someone who's building. If you're working on something in software, deep tech, or just trying to figure out what's next move, I want to hear from you. If you want to plug into what we're building, Tech Bank, Earth VC, or a deep tech event, reach out. Be sure to follow and subscribe to Jason Cavness Experience wherever you listen or watch it. Thank you for your time, and remember to be great every day.